We are
Entropy.
alive. We are breathing.
Ready to go live? Yes. Okay, copy the entropy link. Hopefully, is it going? Okay. Pin the message.
I need to share that as well. There we go.
Are we live?
You tell me, man.
Yeah, we're live.
It says we're live, so we should be good to go.
Yeah, it's just, it gets, like, I guess StreamYards, it takes time to, because I've yet to like mute entropy. You know, it's like you're getting in and like you have to mute. I hate that.
It is an annoyance, yes, I would agree with that.
Yeah. There's like, yeah, YouTube is always delayed. Anyways, clap back at the lolcow live show. Yeah, I will, because honestly, I was explaining to Prude before the show, like, lolcow live is the Keemstar podcast where it's like him, Boogie, Wings Redemption, and Tommy C, and I think they occasionally have other people, like they had Mr. Medicaid on, and Mudahar. But yeah, it's basically all just like washed up hacks. And I hate to say it, but like Keemstar, he was doing a bit of like, first of all, like, they're all covering for Boogie because they all own the same share in the podcast. So if they kick off one guy, they're not going to get paid. So they have to like treat Boogie with kid gloves, and they're never going to like truly like go into him, right? They're never going to felt him the way he deserves. And Keemstar enables it, obviously, because they have no drama. It's just you know, it's the commodity of drama, and with all those guys is a very depreciating, short shelf life type of thing. And so now I see that Keemstar, not to speak too ill of him, because of course, you know, he's very powerful in YouTube, but he was trying to like sweep it up for the MrBeast whatever Transformer Decepticon, but like then he like just couldn't do it anymore. So it's like he couldn't sweep it anymore. But then people are making these like ridiculous excuses, like, well, the victim actually said that it was totally fine, that it was 13 years old and he was 20 at the time, and you know, anyways, let's start off with that. Start off with a high note.
Dear God.
Have you been following the MrBeast, Chris, whatever his stupid name is?
You're telling me a man who developed a sick fetish abandoned his wife and kid and continued to do other things like talk to and potentially exploit children? Say it ain't so. It's almost as if these people can't ever be. Yeah, it's always the ones you least expect.
It set back the impossible community by 200 years, apparently. They've been set back every week. They've gone back to the Paleolithic stage. They've gone back to when the Earth was a collection of asteroids that were they've gone back to when the Earth was a conglomeration of asteroids colliding into each other. That's how far they've been set back. Every single week they've been set back 200 years. So by someone. Oh, I shouldn't laugh, because honestly, not a single one of them started it off with, "This is terrible, I'm sorry for the victims." It's always about, my community is affected. That's what they really care about. My community is set back 200 years. The impossible is the beyond community. But anyways, Prude, how have you been?
Fine.
A lot of things have happened.
Yeah, a lot has happened, and God, we only did this a week ago.
Yeah.
There's been no interruptions from the show.
Nope.
So we covered. Oh my! So it was what we went on live on the 16th. So a few days after the assassination attempt.
Yes.
Joe Biden had the tweet, "I'm sick," the day after.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got a interesting phone call thing yesterday. And then
apparently he is still
proof of life today.
Yeah, they had footage of him.
Oh, and Joe Biden dropped out of the 2024 presidential race, and yet he's still president. No invocation of the 25th Amendment, and he's going to give an address tomorrow. I think something happened.
I mean, I don't know if we're going to violate YouTube by saying that there's, like, you know, I don't know, a palace coup or something like that, but
No,
It's very
I was just simply
strange.
saying just I think that Palace Coup makes things entertaining, but I mean, let's not kid ourselves. I think that according to the Trump campaign, they were planning for Biden to be out as early, like they had plans in case he got removed as early as May of this year.
Really?
And then, Elon Musk had said that a lot of insiders knew that this was a long time coming. I mean, it's not,
Yeah.
why would you have a debate so early in the
Yeah.
primary season? Or not in the primary season, but early in the election cycle? Like in July? No one has a debate in July or late June or whatever. Like it's a not really heard of at all. I mean, like this has been, I don't want to say totally coordinated or planned or whatever, but I mean, like, way to set the trap in order for him to look bad, because we and now everyone we all it's stuff we already knew. I mean, I reference the same Atlantic article all the time, but it's just like when you're writing in 2020, Joe Biden stay alive, and when you had uh who was it, Julian or Joaquin Castro, one of the two Castro brothers in the 2020 primary, tell basically infer that Biden can't remember, more than 5 minutes ago, that he's got a goldfish memory, and that
Oh God.
his campaign was on the ropes, and that it took the promise with Jim Clyburn for a woman of color VP ticket to help win the South Carolina. Like this, the House of Cards was built, and it was very fragile to begin with. And I think that one of the things, though, to say about sort of like the Biden power base, because I mean, like Jill and whoever his loyalists are, once you cut them off from social media and you cut them
Yeah.
off from appealing to the masses, you can kind of do whatever you want. And we already know that, like, he's not really running the White House Twitter account or anything like
Nope.
that.
It's some
And
female intern staffer.
yeah, who's like close to my age or something like that, like late 20s. But
Oh,
she's got that like weird moon face because of like cortical steroid use or whatever.
she's like that Weinstein hack that took over for Harv Dog. You know that
Mm,
one, the ugly like glasses, like moon face, like brick face, like
yeah, but she looks
yeah,
like the shrunk down Charlie Kirk memes that lefties like to use.
yeah,
So I mean, once you take away the ability, and this is why I wrote the little Substack article. One, because I write better when I'm chasing headlines, which is terrible for me.
yeah.
Uh,
That's not good.
well, I mean, it's good if you want to do punditry coverage, but I every time I do punditry coverage, I want to just die inside and seek Canadian healthcare. But once you take away the megaphone to the media, like you're over. And I mean, it's harder to be on the left with that, because once your own team and its factions, nominally turn against you, it's kind of game over. Whereas on the right, like, you can find another group or a camp or whatever. But here, it's different because the regime media is supposed to be on your side, but they have kind of turned against you. And so once you've lost your ability to tweet or speak out or address the country, it's over. In the same way that
Yeah,
once you took Trump's ability to tweet in January of 2021, it was kind of like game over for the lame duck period of his administration. And so, the silver lining is, I think, that Trump not being on Twitter has been good for him in terms of like
mm,
campaign discipline, but that's a whole other discussion. So I don't want to know if it's just Palace Coup, other than like long time coming. Like, people were waiting in the wings for this moment, and then between him getting sick, and I mean,
yeah.
from the video footage we saw today, he didn't look all that great. So,
They had to help him in
you
the
know,
car apparently.
are you ready for I'm with her 2.0?
Oh, but even worse, even
Are you
worse.
ready? Are you ready to be unburdened by what has been?
Well, what's the full phrase? Prude, unburdened by
I have no idea.
unburdened by the what has been being what is unburdened. I don't know. She said it like a million times. There's like a 4 minute long compilation of her saying the same phrase. It's sort of
Mm,
like Obama's hope and change. They're gonna do the Obama playbook again. I think that's like Obama, but with the added benefit of being a woman of color. That's like going to be their thing. Because I've just been seeing like nonstop coal about her, and there's this one thread I linked in a chat we're in where it's like like black sorority girls or something, and it's like all of like the worst people you could ever imagine, like male feminists and black Twitter and girl bosses. They're like coming together to celebrate Kamala. But one of the talking points that you bring up is that they were all saying, like, there was this one other viral post about, like, oh, like I can't, like, it was some stupid, like, you know how like leftoids, they always have memes that center around mainstream Hollywood. It was like some stupid meme from It's Always Sunny or whatever. They're saying that like Trump didn't prepare for this, that it was like solely how to defeat Biden. But that's like a spurious talking point, because of course they were game planning if Kamala was going to be it instead of Biden. Like, it's a stupid talking point. Now I am worried about Trump during any debate, if he'll come off appealing like as a bully or whatever, because apparently this is a new talking point among supposedly conservative e-girls.
Well,
That like
there's your problem,
JD
conservative
Vance is host scaring
e-girls.
or whatever. Yeah,
Uh,
that I'm not going to vote for him, even though like Kamala will probably bring in people that will do unspeakable things by the tens of thousands, if not millions. Well, yeah, millions. But JD Vance gives me a bad vibe, so I'm not going to vote for. Like, this is just like all of my, when I saw the discourse today, all of my wholesome Chungus women respecting sort of like some of it sort of vanished from my body. I'm like, oh my god, you people don't realize what a Kamala presidency will be like. You don't realize this. Because, like, okay, does JD Vance have kind of bad vibes because he says like some stupid bro stuff about women? Okay, whatever. But if you have any principles, like, listen, I have criticism of JD Vance as well. Okay, I have criticisms of him, and his book Hillbillyology is sort of like, there's stuff in there that's kind of damning, and some of his connections with Silicon Valley. Okay, fine. But like, if you are claiming I'm a conservative woman, but I'm not going to vote for him, even though like Kamala Harris is going to bring in people that are going to destroy my neighborhoods, it's like, like, you don't realize this is like, I know every election in America, especially, is existential, but this really is existential. And by the way, I'll say the same thing if next year or in 2026, if they call a Canadian election. I'm just going to tell people, hold your nose and vote for Poilievre, because there's no way you're going to survive another 4 or 5 years of Trudeau. I'm sorry. Canada will not survive that. So it's the same problem. But anyways, Prude, you go ahead, man. Like, you had a Substack piece about this. What was it called? Where's My Letter, Joe? What was it called?
do you have a letter for me, Mr. Biden? And I mean, and this
And
was
you were on Quinones as well today.
yeah, I was. I recorded with him last night to sort of go over the news and hot
see
topics.
those super chats. Entropy link is also pinned there, and entropy link, if you're from Twitter, is also in the comments there.
Oh, well, there
under
you
the
go.
stream. So, anyways, yeah, go ahead, Prue. Go ahead.
It's so nice to be on other shows so I can workshop my own ideas and talking
Yeah.
points. I do have to give a shout out to our friends over at Art of Darkness, because they had the term unprecedented was such a great line that Pete used it for the title of our talk. I thought it was really good. So yeah, these are unprecedented times, to say the least. I don't know, like, I'm kind of just like here to enjoy the show and to enjoy the popcorn. Like, I think that both sides kind of know that there is it's not like what it was, it's not what it was like 3 weeks ago, and it's not. I think that Trump's campaign is already like their Trump war room tweets has been good. Because what have they been doing? They've been focusing on Kamala Harris being soft on crime. It's just like, and I hope he uses the name Cackling Kamala. That would be really good. But it's just pictures of Cackling Kamala Harris right next to some like brown thug that she let out of prison early because she was doing all of the bail funds and the get out of jail funds during the 2020 BLM riots. So like, hey, this is the lady who fundraised and let rapists and murderers and protesters and these disgusting anti-white biotrash mobs out into the world. And, she's going to be president of the United States if you don't vote for me. And that's pretty good. Again, I think a lot of this, I like how everyone's already just decided, like, this media apparatus has decided it's going to be a white guy for her VP. Although, I kind of want to see how it goes. I don't think they'll pick Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, just because he's Jewish.
No, they're not going to do that.
I don't think they're going to do that, but it would be a funny ticket to have a completely non-white Democratic ticket. Just I'd appreciate the honesty a little more.
What does he
So,
look like? Okay, so he looks like just your typical like old school Democrat politician. He doesn't look remarkable. And I think that's probably like why they maybe would pick him.
I
But
think that's why they want a safe, boring white guy.
yes, yeah. So I mean Newsom's out of the picture. He doesn't want it. Or else I think if it was
I don't think
Newsom,
he
they would
I don't think he wants it right now.
you know who they should pick? If
Who?
they wanted a solid white guy, they wanted truly a political visionary. You know what I'm gonna say, right?
You're gonna say Hunter Biden?
No, no, no. Oh, that too. But no, I was gonna say John Fetterman.
You know, together, together.
Together, yeah, yeah.
I'm kind of for it, only because I just want to see it. Why not? Just two arslers fighting, or two arslers running the country. Like,
Well,
why not?
I don't think Kamala is as stupid as people think, as I said in my
No,
long
no,
post.
no. But I
But hey,
mean,
come on, come, but oh,
well, she kind of
oh,
is.
Prude, you're gonna like this one. You're gonna like this one. Look at the tweet. Look here.
Ah,
Look at
yeah.
the twin
Well,
post.
he is old enough. He is old
He's
enough.
gonna be 40. Yeah.
He said at my 39th and final birthday, and I thought that was a real nice white pill for him to drop on the masses. But uh I like I'm kind of electorally wiped out for takes. I just wanted to. I think the important thing to consider here is that you were going to see the most astroturfed support of this insane, crazy person that not even sort of like the Democratic Party establishment elites can garner real excitement for. Like that clip today where Chuck Schumer, who doesn't have an enthusiastic bone in his body, is just simply saying, let's all get behind Vice President Kamala Harris. And then, like, there's like a real awkward pause before anyone tries to like be supportive. So it's like him and Hakeem Jeffries in the House that are just like, yeah, like this is what we got to deal with. She's
Yeah.
apparently gotten the delegates without a single vote from the convention. So I
Oh
mean, I guess we'll
boy.
see come August, what happens there. I mean, I presume that she is the presumptive nominee. I know that there are some that kind of want a more open convention. I don't see it happening.
No,
I
because the party dictates everything. It's not
Well, it's not
really.
just that the party dictates everything. It's just that like the money has been moved.
Yeah.
Like, they're not gonna do all this again. So, you have this, like, honeymoon phase with the money moving, and are you ready? Yas Yeah, no, it's gonna be Yas Queen, it's gonna be, "Excuse me, I'm speaking," or, "Shut up, a black woman is talking,
Lean
listen
in.
and
Like it'll be
learn."
they're gonna bring back.
It'll be the Sheryl Sandberg lean
Yeah,
in,
they're gonna
girl
bring
boss
2010s.
feminism. It will
They're gonna
be.
revive Tumblr
Well,
because Blue Sky. Nobody goes on Blue Sky. They're gonna
well,
get
she's the
Tumblr back.
embodiment of that. Like, she is the embodiment of the Sheryl Sandberg, "I'm a progressive, I'm a woman, I can do this job that a man can do." And already you've witnessed, like, the absolute just, like, racial, ethno-narcissism that comes out of, like, the press ready for black people. And it's just like, no, we tried that once, and it was a disaster for 8 years. And he's still kinda running the country to some extent. Like, no, I don't think that, America's ready for that. And Jonathan Bowden, when he was still alive, in his talk on H.P. Lovecraft, he talks about Obama. And he's just like, this is the new part of America that
Yeah.
is going to be still with us for some length of time unless something changes. And unfortunately, uh, that is here to stay. And yeah, Geo takes 97 episodes to realize e-girls are bad. Yeah, it's true. I love it when
Yeah.
someone mentions e-girls in the chats that we're in. 'Cause it's like, ooh, another one I haven't blocked yet. I'm so excited. But you're gonna see the most astroturfed garbage. I would not be surprised if that like e-girl, if that talking point was like shopped somewhere. I really wouldn't
Yeah.
be like, oh, JD Vance gives me the ick. And I'm just like, JD Vance has just kind of made it clear that like people who don't have skin in the game and is aware of the fact that single women who are childless, well, I mean, single women who even have children, I mean, they tend to vote Democrat. Like, they're clearly not who he's going for. I mean, I pray that like, and I know we're all talking like elections still matter. I have to get that caveat line out of the way, but for all this talk about getting, the Quans or the Tyrones to vote, sorry, you need the white vote, and you need to get as much of that white vote as possible, and that's really what's going to matter. And I
Yeah.
think that the focusing on crime is good messaging, but they're doing untested strategies, and I hope they pay off. But ground game is what's going to matter here above all else. All elections come down to money and ground game, and we'll just
Has
see what
she
happens.
made most money ever in a campaign?
I don't think so. I think we've just seen these big records because of the money transfers and that the donors are finally turning the sluice back on for the money. I don't know if she's broken any records, but I haven't done the research to quantify or confirm that claim. I'm just operating on gut instinct. Like I I don't know. I
Well,
just
like
know.
that poll that Kamala's ahead of Trump, that's not can't be real. That's
Well,
like, I mean,
it's not
maybe.
it's a shock poll, maybe, but I mean, a lot of polling can have really bad methodology. I would never trust it, but you should always campaign like you're 19 points behind, anyways.
Yeah.
I, it, again, it's going to be up to you to determine how you want to participate in this election or not, especially if you're an American. But again, I think it would behoove you to recognize that for all the justifiable and accurate criticisms there are of Trump or who he works with or who he's done dealings with or sort of even JD Vance's issues, um, one side is clearly better than the other, and
Yeah.
that becomes clear as day with every passing hour. And yeah, I mean that's really where to go with that. I mean, are you enjoying the show as the title goes for episode 97? Are you enjoying this show? Are you enjoying that it's been 4 years since we've talked about elections in any real meaningful way, and now that we're here again engaging in the procedural kabuki theater that is American democracy, we too get to enjoy just an ounce of Kino as we witness the most grotesque imagery imaginable on our timelines with AI generated images of Kamala Harris in compromising situations, as well as watching Biden sort of not be present and people go completely schizophrenic. And,
Yeah.
Scott Greer had a great point the other day where he was just like, yeah, I got some things wrong, but like, I'd rather stick to my gut than, engage in the most like spurious kind of conspiracy, like, oh, they're going to replace Joe Biden with Big Mike. And it's just like, I think he's absolutely right. Like, we need to be better than cat turd clickbait. We need to be better than, doubling down on the most entertaining take and running with it. Like, because if we're going to just
Yeah.
appeal to the lowest common denominator, which is like the lowest IQ, let's go Brandon type character, then like, no, we kind of deserve every stereotype that gets lobbied against us. And I think that we should be and can be better than that. And I
People
think,
are way too reactive. That's the
well, I
problem.
mean, it's
We
designed to
all
be
are.
reactive. It's designed to be as gamified as possible. Like, we're supposed to be reacting 24/7 because of the Twitter box, and we want our Elon dollary dues. Like, did you see he changed his profile picture to dark MAGA, and all of a sudden this meme coin is skyrocketing? Like, yeah, it's fun, but at the same time, like, I think that we need to be as sober and as clear headed as possible. Like, that we are very close to having Kamala Harris and the disgusting party regime behind her running things, and that things are really bad, and that we should be operating and preparing for her victory. Not because
Yeah.
I want her to win or I expect her to win. It's going to be nail bitingly close, and there will be lawsuits and there will be protests and violence. But I'm
Well,
telling
especially if
you,
Trump wins, there will be violence.
I am just
There,
telling
people will
people,
riot. Yeah.
yeah, and they just like they did in 2016.
Yeah.
And you should just be preparing accordingly for how to deal with life, whether you choose to stay in America or not, if she wins. And I think that we should just be the sober, as much as we are entertaining and jovial. And play the straight man. I'm playing the straight man here because I think it's important for us to not go too deep into the maybe conspiracy weeds, but also at the same time, I think we should be level headed because things could very much get worse very quickly.
Yeah.
So
And
I mean,
and the
that's my take. I don't know how much more I can really talk on elections.
yeah, I mean, no, that's a correct take, but I'm just, well, I mean, we'll talk about other stuff, but like, I guess like the meta politics of it, but yeah, but honestly, just pander shamelessly to women and not act on it when in power. Yeah, exact. No, like, here's the thing. Okay, you people are not going to like what I'm going about to say, which is kind of bad because like I personally don't pursue Elon bucks because I actually delete a lot of bangers because I'm actually worried. I don't know. I'm kind of like worried about like hideous people. They're like, in your mentions, or they'll screen cap you, and like they'll push that photo from 2014. Anyways, besides the point. This is really bad because especially for super chats, please need those super chats. I see entropy is buzzing, but not YouTube. So please, but I prefer Entropy. Entropy gives you more of a cut. So the link is up there in the pinned comment. But anyways, you're not gonna like what I have to say. Okay. Oh man, sorry. I've had way too many nicotine lozenges. I think JD Vance should really stop it with like the like, I know it gets like a lot of the bro, like sort of the bro talk, the like red pill manosphere stuff, but I think that the way that you can really not pander, but the way you appeal to like women, especially the demographic of women that you need to win, which is married women, largely white women that have voted for Trump, is you really do have to play up to their base primal fears and instincts, which usually revolves around crime and immigration. And I think if you can tune down the rhetoric about like single mothers or doing like the whole Ronnie Reagan welfare queen stuff, I think like that's probably in the long run a better strategy. But then of course, when you get into power, you like totally disempower Planned Parenthood. You totally go after like these activist judges and you weaponize your judiciary and everything. But it's actually getting there. Like you have to really think about this Machiavellianly, right? And so I think when JD Vance goes up there and says stuff about single mothers or whatever, that's sort of like, I understand, like, okay, it gives them the ick or whatever. But, and he did marry an Indian woman. That's probably like another hidden thing that a lot of women aren't going to admit to, is the fact that he married an Indian woman. So like, but when, you know what I mean? So I think like you have to be a bit more suave about it. And even during a debate, I think Trump, the worst thing he can do is come off as like a bully or whatever. He just has to focus on policies, and he has to focus on like, I think the debate format he did with Joe would actually help him in that they pause.
I would agree wholeheartedly.
Because if he starts cutting her off, that's no bueno. That's not going to be good. They should do the thing where they both get muted when the other person talks. That would win, because then Kamala would be tripped up and Trump would have, he'd like really say, listen, I was the president. Here's my accomplishments. Here's how I could benefit everybody, blah, blah, blah. Whereas Kamala, I think she'll like, and Mr. D's right. You're going to get 3-4 months of not nonstop girl boss Yas queening. And the way you prepare for that is you sort of have to let that wash over you, and you have to just focus on the real things. And I know it's difficult because a lot of this is like, here's the thing about the 2010s culture war, especially with the feminist issue. A lot of it was just rage bait. And I understand this. And there's something like very instinctual when you're like insulted or whatever, as a man or as a white man or whatever. There's something that instinctually pulls you towards disgust, and you want to lash out and reply. And then you see like other people that aren't exactly women, if you know what I mean, but they pretend to be women, then they get involved in it. And so you really have like this instinctual repulsion. But I think if you let that wash over you and you realize that the sort of Yas Queen girl bossism could potentially be ephemeral rather than a long-term goal towards the finish line, then I hope I'm right. Because again, if the girl boss Yas Queenism is here to stay, then I'm sorry, it's over. But you can't really think it's too over till it's over, and maybe it won't potentially be over. Who knows? Same with Europe, right? It's the same thing. This year in France, the far right got 32% of the electorate. Before it was 12% the last election. Maybe in 2027 they'll win. So I think in some ways, not to say accelerationism is always a very problematic strategy, because you never know what's going to come out of the other side. But I think if you do create enough of a groundswell of pushing people to such an extent, which Kamala Harris presidency will do that, by the way. It will be totally blackpilling, but it will create so much chaos that who knows, maybe there will be a potential for even more farther to the right candidate than Trump or JD Vance in 4 years. I hope they win, but there's no guarantee of it, which is what I was saying on Twitter the other day, is that, don't get complacent. Don't think just because Kamala is stupid or she's goofy or whatever, that that Trump is just going to step over her. I don't think that's going to happen, because, and this is another thing too, and I respectfully disagree with people like AA. I don't think the elites have picked Trump. I think that there is a rival elite faction war going on, And one set of elites have picked Trump, and another set of elites haven't, because they hate Trump and they hate everything he stands for, and they hate how he's disrupted their 20 plus year continuum of the end of history project. And so I don't think that they're going to put up such an easy fight. I don't think Kamala is a jobber just yet. Now, if she gets destroyed in debate, then she is a jobber, and AA is vindicated, and they're going to pick Trump, which presents another set of problems. But up until that point, I don't know. I'm skeptical of the theory that the elites have picked Trump. Put it that way. I think they hate him to such a degree, and they hate the elites that have backed him because they are new elites. They're Silicon Valley people. And so they're deeply resentful that these people are trying to make a power move on the back of Trump. And so that was my basic thesis. But I don't know what you think of that, Prud.
I think it's important to understand that you can't look at things too monolithically. Like when there are great shorthand words like, oh, the regime, or oh, like the elites, but it's just, they are, like you said, they are multifactional. You can't look at them as this one monolithic structure. I think that kind of veers too closely into kind of like old Marxism 1.0 talking, frame. And I think that's kind of, it's a blinder, to say the least. Yeah, like clearly there is a sort of middle American radical a la Sam Francis coalition with some coastal elites in New York and in Silicon Valley, especially.
Yeah.
Are they going to win? I don't know. It would be interesting to see if they do. I'm a little curious, but at the same time, I don't think that it's a shoe in for Trump. If it were a shoe in, I don't think we'd be subjected to as much legal theater as we have been, or the clear debacle with the Secret Service. And yes, I know the director Cheadle had resigned, but it's not like we're going to know the full truth about it. And if
Don Cheadle resigned?
Yeah, the lady Cheadle resigned is her last name, the Secret Service director. She tendered her resignation. They accepted it. This was after a bipartisan grilling, and then, which anytime that it's a bipartisan, it's like I said on Pete's yesterday, when you hear the word bipartisan, just know you're getting spit roasted by both sides, and it's not a good time. Like, there's an Eiffel Tower, and you're in the middle, and I hate to break it to you for being so crude and crass, but so I mean, like, are we ever gonna know the truth? Really happened? Probably not. For all we know, it's just like with any other sort of quote unquote lone gunman type shooter that's a white male. It's that
there's a lot of strange things around it.
A lot of strange things happen in the same way, like with the Uvalde shooter, right? Like, why are you in a Discord server with a former FBI agent? That raises some interesting questions. How did you get this gear and equipment? By working part-time at Wendy's? That raises some interesting questions.
Yeah.
And so there will be questions that we will never get answers to. I know that the Heritage Foundation of all people has been doing this like parallel investigation, which has done more than anything that Congress has done. And like, oh, it was like near the FBI building and such. And it's like, well, that raises even more questions. And so we're not going to get real answers to it. If they really wanted if they really thought that this was going to be the way to go, I don't think we would have had the events that we've had play out the way that they did. And even now the Secret Service has told Trump, don't do outdoor rallies. Like, holy shit. Like, hey man, we can't protect you, and this administration is not going to do what's necessary to protect you. So don't have outdoor rallies. Like, please don't campaign. Please don't go outside or we'll shoot you dead. And it's just like, oh boy, like this is so fucked. And all we can do is watch in sort of abject horror, because again, the American people are kind of just being strung along for a ride, as they always have been, and so is the rest of the world, because this still is a global hegemonic power. And here we go. Like, we get to watch it, and we get to witness the craziness that comes with it. And I hope you filled up your popcorn buckets, and if you're with your lady friend, I hope you cut a hole in the bottom of the box. But like, because it's going to be a bad time. It's going to be rough.
Yeah.
No matter what happens, it's going to be rough.
No, and that's the thing though, is even if Trump gets in, I think that it will continue to be rough, although there will be at least some people willing to fight it. But you know what I mean. But so I wanted to read some entropy comments, not the super chats, but there's been people commenting, and please sneed those super chats and entropy or even here on YouTube. So this is someone asked about the new fish tank stuff. I'll get to that. Anon said, honestly, kind of sad how mass democracy turned into a racial headcount. The low IQ conspiracy takes do disservice to those sincerely trying to stop the machinations of the total state. Scaring the hose, but you have to do it in a productive way. It's also why the funny jokes about Kamala doing X for advancement shouldn't be main campaign strategies, since that tends to alienate women as a whole, however bad of an instinct that is. Yeah, no, I agree, 100%. Greer makes a good analysis of Kamala and her doomed chances. I haven't read that Greer piece, but you have, Prude. So
I just listened to his show yesterday where he was talking about how Biden's out and Kamala's in, and I think that, you know, I think that we're gonna see so much stuff fly. I think things are gonna move really fast until they find messages that stick. You're gonna see this brat stuff. You're gonna see the millennial.
Oh, I thought Charlie X. What's her name? Charlie
XCX.
I thought she was a Dime Square person. I thought that
No,
she was
like
a follower of Dasha.
Singer.
Yeah, no, but I thought she followed Dasha.
I have no idea.
Yeah, but I thought she was a secret implicit fascist.
I don't follow women, Gio. Like this is stuff you're supposed to know. But like, I think it's important to consider that like things are just going to move at warp speed, and no pun intended.
Yeah.
It's just that things like there's going to be so much weird messaging that they're going to try for the next couple of weeks, and it's going to feel like you have just taken Ritalin and you're just like turbo scrolling through like lefty Twitter. It's going to be nuts. There's going to be the most insane astroturf bullshit that you can ever imagine, where it's just going to be like brat stuff. Oh, filters. Oh, I'm speaking. A black woman. Lean in feminism. Prosecutor versus felon. Blah, blah. It's going to be insane.
You're doing the persecution thing. There's this account called Activism Now or whatever.
Yeah.
This clip from Kamala Harris saying that like, where is it? It's called Call to Activism, which is a big like what's that Democrat psyop propagandist thing called?
To Democracy Now?
No, Democracy Now, but it's the blue. They took, you know, when you take the money to
Act Blue.
Yeah, right? It's like basically an Act Blue account. Yeah, it's a Blue Wave account. So in this clip, Kamala Harris, and this has almost 100,000 likes, is this clip of Kamala Harris saying, like, when I was a persecutor, I dealt with people who abused women. I dealt with people who committed fraud to advance their business, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I've dealt with people like Donald Trump. And it's like, that's what you're going to hear from now till November. And so this is what Hermes Thurston says, my good friend Hermes Thurston in the Entropy chat. He says, feminism and that one medical procedure are going to be major factors in this cycle. The issue will boil down to whether or not Trump and co. can convince women World War III presents a greater threat than their, quote, right to end their own children. So that's going to be a tough sell, because there's a huge cadre of middle-class women who, by the way, who demographically have a low chance of seeking that medical procedure, but yet have this hyperfixation on it. So how are you going to convince them, really?
You know, I think that this is why, despite like, I guess I want to say centrist or lefty evangelical Twitter going hard on Trump, like, you know, Trump was in the debate, made the point. He's just like, listen, you know, like the law is settled. The ruling has been made. I'm not going to talk about this issue. It's stuck with the states. Is that an answer that, you know, a diehard, quote unquote, abortion abolitionist wants? No.
Of course not.
Of course not. But is that the safest political answer you can take while still telling your base, I delivered for you and you should vote for me again? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's not going to be the world's, ain't going to be easy. And again, he's going to have to finagle and thread that needle, and it's not going to be, I don't know how he overcomes it. But yeah, I mean, like, I think that Anon's first comment was absolutely true. Like, in these mass democracies, it is a racial headcount. Just look at every mayoral election in New York City. You know, the Hispanic candidate votes for the Hispanic candidate. The black candidate votes for the black candidate. The Asians, whites, and Jews, they all kind of vote for their own guy. Like, it's how it is every time.
They don't admit to it, the Asian, whites, and Jews, but they still vote for their own guy. I wanted to read you something. Okay, we'll read the hypermodern passage from John David Ebert, but I wanted to read you, which again, you mentioned about the regime, right? And the next content minded, I have a number of interviews that I did. I did one with Volpes, I did a recent one with Zoomer Schopenhauer. We talk about neoliberalism, and actually I have the first interview ever with Solion. It's going to be called Portrait of a Sensitive Young Man. And that's going to take a lot of editing, but I wanted to read to you before we get to the John David Ebert one, what the political left was saying back in the early 2000s, or at least the mid 2000s. Now, this is from, and I used to really read him religiously, even though like he has a huge case of Trump derangement syndrome. But I remember when I was like 13 years old, I read this book and I read America Alone by Mark Stein. This is Empire of Illusion by Chris Hedges. And I believe the reason I got it is because he mentioned pro wrestling in the first chapter. But I remember this book always, yeah, but this book always stuck with me. But speaking about the regime and the elites and whatever, the next Content Minded that will probably be released around Thursday or Friday, I'm going to talk about the history and the writings around the term transnational progressivism, or Tronzy. So that'll be a fun one. It's more of a theoretical one. So this is chapter 5, The Illusion of America. And I'm just going to read a quick passage of the first pages or so. And this is what the left thought back. This book came out in 2009, okay? And it starts with an Auden poem. He says, so then Chris Hedges says, okay, actually, it starts with an Auden poem and then starts with Proverbs 29, where there is no vision, the people perish. So Chris Hedges says, I used to live in a country called America. It was not a perfect country, especially if you're African American or Native American or of Japanese descent during the Second World War. It could be cruel and unjust if you were poor, or like all these other identity groups, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? Nobody cares. It made sure that those workers, thanks to labor unions and champions of the working class, the Democrat Party and the press had health care benefits and pensions. It offered good public education and honored basic democratic values held in regard to the rule of law, including international law and respect for human rights. It had social programs from Head Start to welfare to Social Security to take care of the weak among us, the mentally ill, elderly, blah, blah, blah. It had a system of government that, however flawed, worked to protect the interests of most of its citizens. It offered the possibility of democratic change. It had a press that was diverse and independent and gave a voice to all segments of society, including those beyond our borders, to impart us unpleasant truths, to change the powerful, to reveal ourselves to ourselves. And of course, he comes from the whole like truth dig, democracy now.
Yeah.
I'm not blind to the imperfections of this old America or the failures to meet these ideals currently at home and abroad. I spent more than 2 years living in Roxbury, the inner city in Boston, across the street from a public housing project. So then he talks more about the Palestinians in Nicaragua, the brutalization of the blah, blah, blah. The country I live in today used to the same civic, patriotic, and historical language to describe itself, the same symbols and iconography, the same national myths, but only the shell remains. The America we celebrate is an illusion. The America, the country of my birth, the country of that formed and shaped me, the country of my father's father, and his father's father, stretching back to the generations of my family that were here for the country's founding, is so diminished as to be unrecognizable. I do not know if this America will return, even as I pray and work to strive for its return. The word consent of the governed has become an empty phrase. Our textbooks on political science and economics are obscene. Our nation has been hijacked by oligarchs, corporations, and a narrow, selfish political and economic elite, a small and private privileged group that governs and often steals on behalf of moneyed interests. This elite, in the name of patriotism and democracy, in the name of all values that were once part of the American system and defined the Protestant work ethic, has systematically destroyed our manufacturing sector, looted the treasury, corrupted our democracy, and trashed the financial system. During this plundering, we remain passive, mesmerized by the enticing shadows on the wall. And so the whole book is about how the different like fabulations and images of the American media, our tickets to success, prosperity, and happiness were waiting around the corner. The government, stripped of any real sovereignty, provides little more than a technical expertise for elites and corporations that lack moral restraint and a concept of the common good. America has become a facade. It has become the great illusion and a culture of illusions. It represents power and democratic ethic it does not possess. It seeks to perpetuate prosperity by borrowing trillions of dollars it can never repay. The absurd folly of trying to borrow our way out of the worst economic collapse since the 1930s is the cruelest of all recent tricks played on American citizens. We continue to place our faith in phantom economy one characterized by fraud and lies, which sustain the wealthiest percent. The corporate power that holds the government hostage has appropriated for itself the potential symbols, language, and patriotic traditions of the state. It purports to defend freedom when it defends the free market, and liberty when it defines as the liberty to exploit. It sold us the illusion the free market was natural outgrowth of democracy and a force for good and a force of nature, at least until the house of cards collapsed and the corporations needed to fleece the taxpayer to survive. A culture that cannot distinguish between illusion and reality dies. The dying grasp of all empires, from the Aztecs, the ancient Romans, to the French monarchy, to the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the elites were blinded by absurd fantasies of omnipotence and power that doomed their civilizations. We have been steadily impoverished by our own power elites, legally, economically, spiritually, and politically, and unless we radically reverse this tide, unless we wrestle the state away from the corporate hands, be dragged down by the dark and turbulent undertow of globalization. So that is in 2009. That was just when Obama was elected. And he's writing that as a leftoid, right? And look how far people have fallen. Look how far, especially the political left, has fallen. Not to say I agree, because he's doing the whole typical glazing of minorities, but whatever. And whatever you think of capitalism and whatnot. But I just thought that was a great illustration of what people were actually thinking about at that time. And now if you read Chris Hedges now, it's like total, 100% Trump derangement syndrome.
I was going to say, isn't he usually like on Russia Today doing the whole like prison abolition, Trump's a fascist or whatever?
Yeah, but he also is like a Vatnik, so it's really
absolutely wild.
But he was like very respected back in the day. Like people listened to him, and he was writing that like right after Mr. Hope and Change got elected. So yeah, that's wild. I thought that was, when I read that again, I'm like, man, that's crazy.
It is like, it is insane to consider, for instance, like the leftist progressive optimism that came with Obama.
Yeah.
That, was just like this like total dread that doesn't get witnessed again until on the right, basically.
Yeah.
When Trump gets into office. And I mean, that's the thing about optimism, is just that, oh, well, we want to rebuild America too. And it's just like, we want to make America great again. And everyone has this belief on what that looks like. And then everyone is brutally reminded that actually, well, whoever's going to take advantage of that messaging and somehow get into office. And again, that's what makes 2016 what it is that he wasn't supposed to get in. I do genuinely believe that the 2016 election was sort of a wake-up call for the elite apparatus of progressivism to realize, oh man, our thumbs were not on the scale as much as they should have been. Because if that election were to happen a week later or a week earlier, I don't think Trump would have won. And the exit polling certainly shows that, and the data shows that.
Yeah.
But I mean, the idea that, oh, I used to live in this country called America, like that kind of belief exists now primarily for disaffected whites.
Yes.
No one else. Oh, I used to live in America. And it's just like, okay, well, the people who believe that are what? White voters who probably are going to vote for Trump, or the very type of people that, long for some sense of civility in our politics. Again, mainly like white, well-to-do, Dem voters that think X, Y, and Z about how the country used to be. Like that whole return to the civic nationalism of the 90s where we can all get along, and obviously that's not happening.
No, that's not going to happen.
No.
But the fact that he's appealing to the fact that he is a heritage American, like no lefty would do that nowadays. That's like verboten. That's like totally gone. And that was 2009. That wasn't like too long ago. I mean, relatively, yeah. It's in terms of like political and internet time, it's an eternity. But but in terms of actual like meat space time, it's like, how many years has that been? What? 20? Not 20 years. No. What's 2009? Anyway,
it's been about 15 years, Gio.
15 years, yeah. So, not that, like, I mean, if you're a millennial, that's not too long. But the fact that like the landscape is like totally changed, and I think that it became a question of the whole like the older guard of the political left, like the certain types of people like Chris Hedges, or like gray mirror types. They read books like The Image, or they'll read Neil Postman, or they'll read Debord, And it became about fighting this illusion, this spectacle that became the sort of quote unquote modern democracy that was largely driven by the American culture industry. But now it's not about that. And you'll see with the Kamala campaign, it's not about fighting the illusion anymore. It's about creating the illusion. It's about wrestling the illusion away from the gravity that is the image that Trump manages to create. And so these people have like totally debased themselves. And I think that deep down inside, maybe Chris Hedges still realizes that. Like if you read books like Death of the Liberal Class he wrote, I think maybe he still might realize that, but just he can't because of Trump. So it's very interesting to read what they were writing at the time, even on this, like, 2009 was this huge groundswell of Obamaism. And the fact that he was willing to actually put this book out, I think he did get heat from other libtards for being like a pessimist or a black pill or whatever. Or like, the term black pill wasn't invented yet, but like for being more or less a black pillar. But yeah, exactly. I remember Hedges being a thoughtful libtard before he became resistance. Yeah, 100%. And maybe a part of that still exists, but maybe a part of that means that he doesn't want to, screw up his chances of no longer going on MSNBC anymore next to Joy Reid or whatever her stupid name is. So it's like,
I mean, isn't it crazy to think about that? I mean, like, this also goes back to, I don't know if we were going to talk about it, but like the whole JD Vance blog from 2000.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you go. Yes, go ahead, Prude.
And so like someone had found his blog from 2005, and he's talking about like the people that he reads while he's like in his first year of Harvard Law. And it's a wild thing to consider because he's like, oh, I read Matt Iglesias, like, probably the most like thought-provoking liberal. And it's, but again, it's Matt Iglesias, like, 15 years ago, or even more than that, almost 20 years ago, totally different guy. And the age of now where it is funny to, you're referencing Debord and like the society of spectacle, because the spectacle always distracts us from things. But like, what are we so like? What was I know it sounds dumb, but like, what was the other than like a great aesthetic spectacle struggle to determine the country? Like, oh, Trump embracing, Pepe the Frog and like going on stage somewhere where like Les Deplorables were like, and with the Can You Hear the People Sing from Les Mis playing, like an unbelievable, like if you were to tell someone 20 years ago, this man is going to be president of the United States, and they would tell you like, this like clown show is the president or going to be president. It's like the whole Back to the Future thing. It's like Ronald Reagan, the actor, like Donald Trump.
That was a great tweet, by the way. I forget who it was. It may have been Yoshi, where he said like, if you go back to like a regular Joe in 1984 and you're like, listen, Hulk Hogan just went and gave a speech at the Republican National Convention. They'd be like, oh my God, who is running for the presidency for the Republicans? Donald Trump.
Exactly.
They'd be mind blown. You couldn't tell them that. Yeah. Anyways, what were you saying, Prude?
So I mean, like, you go read that blog, and again, it's interesting in comparison to say like the Hillbilly Elegy stuff, but it's just like, oh, like I kind of don't fit in here, and then also, the movie Garden State makes me feel things, and it's just like, yeah, me too, buddy. It sure did back then.
What was that movie about?
It's really hard to describe what it's about. I mean, it's the one with Zach Braff and Natalie Portman. It's like this weird kind of love story, coming of age type deal, but it has everything that like you would listen to in the early 2000s, like the Shins and that kind of music. And
he really is a millennial.
And I mean, he is, and I mean, this is coming from someone who is very much a fan of that kind of music. I have seen more, Decemberists and Death Cab shows than I would ever like to admit publicly, and it's just like, I get it. I understand that JD Vance is just like is a guy, and in a lot of ways, like the kind of guy I would identify with, a portrait of a millennial, sensitive young man type. But at the end of it all, you look back at that time frame, and like you have this, of course, like just this drudge of despair of this like Bush era years where everyone's kind of bought into the popular culture and zeitgeist. And then, you kind of went two different ways after Obama got in. It's like either you doubled down on it and you tuned out, or, and I don't mean like physically, but like spiritually you did, or you you became like a JD Vance type, or you went to the right. And
You voted for Trump.
man, you voted for Trump, right? Or I mean, I don't know if JD Vance did, because I know he was kind of like questionable
No,
on
he was
Trump's
a never
political
Trumper
view.
or something, apparently. Yeah.
But it does illustrate, at least in my view, that like, oh, the guy who he was back then is a very relatable man to any sort of white guy. And it goes to show you, like we talk about like media or the Yas queening and things like that. There is not a outside of some like really niche areas like metal and rock and roll, like, and even then some of that stuff is trying to branch out to other
It became
groups.
Reddit after, like, especially
And,
metal.
yeah, but I mean, there was a point in time where that stuff was like, this is like the white man's like music
Yeah.
genre. That doesn't
Yeah.
really exist anymore. And because I mean, I still listen to the music I still listened to when I was in like high school and younger, and I still
Yeah.
listen to a lot
Same.
of classic, concert stuff. Like I just it's hard to, and people send me like folk albums. I've been listening to a lot more of that kind of stuff. Um eh, and it's just like, wow, like it's just a huge sort of recognition that one, this ain't your millennial, eternal summer youthful days, right? But also that you wake up and you're like, oh, the good times, they were there once, and
Yeah.
maybe we can bring them back. Not in this like desire to be young again, but in this desire to realize that things are so irrevocable. I don't not irrevocably, but like things are so close to being irreparably screwed.
Yeah.
Maybe why not throw down? I don't know. It's hard for me to
Well,
express any feeling on it, just because it's like I remember being young and a teenager back then and seeing the world radically change and witnessing, in my face racial politics for the first time is very young, and realizing like, oh, things are gonna get bad for me because of what I am, or because like my parents voted for John McCain or whatever, and it's just like, okay, yeah, I kind of want to go back to that,
yeah, but leftoids would say you deserve it because you stand on the shoulders of a history of like oppression and suffering on their part.
Well, then
So
I guess I'm gonna have to
say, you know what? Who cares?
well, that I was going to say something slightly different, but
What were you gonna
it's just,
say?
well, I was going to say, well, if that's the case, then I should probably act like one and not be walked on and not be walked all over, and instead I should be exactly what you fuckers fear. And that, that sounds like spiteful, or like the vengeful
Yeah, that's a
son
hard gamble.
burning
Yeah.
down the village to feel warmth, because they'll psychoanalyze you. They'll do it regardless of whatever your actual intentions are. We saw this with lefties today with JD Vance and the blog, or the hillbilly elegy psychoanalyzing of him. It's just like, even if you got it 100% right, he's going to deny it, because fuck
Yeah.
you. You don't get to define me. And that's the cunning feature of it all, is that both sides of this whole issue, and I know that sounds so dumb to say, but both sides kind of have this F you dad, F you
Yeah.
society streak to it. Except the difference is that we know which side has power, and it's not
Yeah.
us. So I feel like my middle finger to the world is a little more justified.
Yeah, but see, but the point being is that, again, with the spectacle and the illusion, is that especially now that Kamala's there, you're going to see, like, and they've done this. I read in the Core Report, the last episode, episode 4. You go to my Patreon or Substack, link below. I talked about how they tried to like reverse engineer Clownvid to say that like you were the ones that were reactive and you hate human contact. But of course, it was the issue about PrEP and certain demographics. What was that part in Romans, the wages of sin?
Yeah.
So they were trying to reverse engineer it. But these irony leftist freaks, they were the ones that were pushing so hard for it to make you a second-class citizen over a medical decision. And then, when the world changed, they immediately said, oh, it was only a few weeks in 2020, bro. It was only a few weeks where you had to stay and watch Netflix. That was terrible, bro. See how that works? So it's the same thing with everything. They will reverse engineer their status as the oppressed, even while they are oppressing you. And that's like really the most gutless and deceivious part of the whole project, of their whole ideological apparatus. And Volpez says in the chat, I can't believe this. I had to Google this myself. But Volpez says that Chris Hedges apparently regularly to this day writes for the Uns Review. I'm like, what? recent article in Chris Hedges' Un's review called "The Old Evil" about the occupation of Ramallah is from July 12th. How does he get away with writing for the Un's review? Oh, that's amazing. I can't believe that.
I guess at a certain point when you have money, you can kind of get away with it.
You don't really care anymore.
Well, I mean, like, is anyone really going to try and cancel Chris Hedges?
They tried, believe me.
Okay, but did they succeed?
No, he's still writing.
So like he's not going anywhere, you know.
Yeah, those old boomer like anti-war people, they're still gonna read Truth Dig regardless. So
you know, like they're gonna go watch the latest. I don't know,
Russia Today,
Russia Today to Democracy Now crap.
Yeah,
like it's not gonna go anywhere. Like, come on.
You have to go to Daily Motion or VK to watch Russia Today. You have to go to Telegram. You have to go to Telegram to watch Russia Today. Oh man, that's incredible.
Just what a crazy time to be. I don't know. It's just these are the stories of these are the days of our lives.
Yeah.
You know.
But yeah, this is why you have to sneak us super chats, because really we're fighting for you, you know. Oh, I can't do I feel so dirty saying that.
So bad. Yeah, we're fighting for you. Come on, man. Although
no, I don't want to laugh at that because it's kind of true, though. It is kind of true. We are for you guys.
I mean, we are here for you, but at the same time, you know, not in that parasocial way. Like, come on, guys, you're better than this. But
but it's like that clip where Vaush, he said, like, my principle is winning. I go, yeah, you know what? You're right. You're right. Vaush was right.
True.
His principle was winning. And if winning means supporting Kamala Harris, even though she threw like minorities in jail over an ounce of weed, then yeah, that's winning. You know?
Yeah.
But it's same with us, man. Like, I mean, you know, I think the political right needs to realize that. And I think they're starting to, even boomers are starting to realize that. John Carter, your book review is going to drop really soon, okay? You're putting me through hell.
Is this the Amish porn?
Yes. There's no prawn in it. There's not one erotic scene. I was lied to by John Carter. There's not one scrap.
Oh, well, speaking of scraps, did you see that lovely tweet where they were like, why don't men read novels anymore? I thought that was great. You know,
you know why? Because if there's going to be, if like women are going to control the literature industry, you know, have like good writers, have like Phyllis Schlafly, what's her name? That wrote have like her, have like you know, I'm trying to think. Like, I know mostly poets like Plath and Emily Dickinson, but who is another great, like really great women writer? I mean, Ursula K. Le Guin, even though like I know a lot of Impossibles really like her books, but for obvious reasons. But like, you know, if you're gonna have that, like, have a higher caliber of woman writer. If women are gonna control the publishing industry, you know, I mean, don't give us like the millionth Asian American writing about her family coming here and having a tea ceremony, okay? And fighting racism. It's just like, you know what I mean? Like, just give us a better quality. Yeah, Jane Austen. There you go. Emily Bronte. J.K. Rowling.
I mean, that was...
I guess J.K. Rowling. No, I can't say that, man. I was never a Potter kid. Were you a Potter kid?
I mean, I read the books, but I can't say I was like, you know, a diehard fan.
My mom
likes the books, but you know, I don't know.
You know who's a great writer who just got published? Honor Levy. There you go. Honor Levy's new book is pretty good.
I can't in good conscience endorse that.
A Catholic e-girl?
Jewish e-girl?
A Jewish Catholic e-girl.
Yeah, I can't. Sorry. That's a book I don't want to read, and I don't want to touch with.
I have to read it. I don't want to be interviewing her with default.
Oh well, I don't want to touch. I don't want to touch that book with a 10-foot pole, and I wouldn't touch her even with your dick.
That was the Tourette's guy. I want effort with your ass.
Yeah, unironically.
She looks pretty good though.
It's okay. I'm good.
You know, another thing, people were memeing Kamala having like the MILF thing. I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's just.
Weren't you part of that?
Yeah, but not in public.
Okay,
Crude is Ravenclaw, Gio is Hufflepuff. What the hell does that mean?
I don't even know what that means.
Donna Tart. Who is that other one that wrote
Donna Tart? Is like a Donatello joke or?
No, but who is the one? Look at Capitalissimo. Honor Levy's writing skills are mediocre because it's more of a self-confessional thing. It's not about like it's not pure.
So
novel.
Great, more confessional autofiction. I'm good. No thanks.
No way she would have gotten popular time. Oh, come on, that's too unfair. That's unfair.
Cap read the book and reviewed it. I kind of trust his instincts.
He reviewed. Oh yeah, that's right. I was listening to that. I wanted to listen to it, but I got to listen to it. I'm behind on the Sidebar podcast, but
yes, if you want quality, of course he did.
Oh yeah, because Gabe. Listen, Gabe is my spiritual child. He's my spiritual Slavic child. Okay. Now I know. Listen, Sidebar. Blood
is one of the greatest literature review podcasts for our guys.
Well, we're top of the sector though. You're
well, like, we're not a lit review podcast. Like there's New Right, there's Art of Darkness, and then there is the Sidebar. And the Sidebar is number one in my heart, and they're good at what they do.
But the thing is though, like, see, the DA is growing. Okay, like we have a whole network of podcasts. But we're top of the sector. Okay, one day we will climb the scale, and we will overtake cigar. Nah, we're not going to overtake AA. I'm not going to say that. It's not going to happen. You never know, though. Not overtake AA, but like, not that I want to. Like, I don't want to. Overtake.
You want to be your own thing.
Yeah. But I mean, I would like to be near the top of the sector. It's not like we're going to get. I mean, maybe one day we'll get like. We'll get like Night Owl's numbers, right? But
I feel like
what I mean?
It feels like an end of an era because now Night Owls records for $8 a month on for Substack.
I mean, improved. We only charge $5 a month for our stuff.
Well, I charge lower than that, but yeah.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Go to Subscribe Star. What are you doing? $8 a month when you could just like time it so you could like you could press the notification on Nightmare Vision's Twitter account, so then you could like listen to it
or record it yourself.
Get Ralph. A will be disappointed by his regime. A stole your shirt, Gio. He didn't. Well, I don't know. It's a pretty. He. I don't think he was thinking about me. He was thinking of Lou Albano. He wasn't thinking about me. But I would like to think that A was thinking about me when he was wearing that shirt. But no,
he's on vacation right now, isn't he?
Yeah. Ralph was king of the sector, but apparently Ralph had a huge pill stream that didn't go so well. Like, he had this Bloodsport thing with Randbot. Like, listen, if you're getting felted by Randbot, I don't know, man. Like, that's... Anyways, enough sector drama.
It's kind of over.
Do you think Richard's going to vote? Do you think Richard Spencer's going to vote for Kamala Harris?
I don't know. He was pro Biden, so I mean,
yeah,
he's enjoying. I think
he's enjoying the show like we are.
Yeah, just in a totally different way.
The title of the stream was either going to be this, or it was going to be Living in the Pupil of a Thousand Eyes, which is a reference to a Death lyric from the song Thousand Eyes from the album. Was it from Sound of Perseverance, or was it from no, it wasn't from Sound of Perseverance. It was from what album was that from? The Death album. But yeah, I like this title too. I think it's good. But do you want to discuss anything before I talk about because you were talking about like the demographic of young men, especially growing up.
I just relate to it in that sense. Yeah. I have the music and sort of like the cinema taste of probably what would have been a very early 2000s libtard.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, in the same way now, that's also pastiche and cringe. That it's like, okay, well, I guess I'm my own guy in that respect. because no one else gives a shit about that stuff anymore. No one. I mean, it's always so sad because you watch them now, the people that you like maybe grew up listening to, and it's just like, yeah, I know in 2016 that Ben Gibbard, the lead singer of Death Cab for Cutie, wrote that shitty $1 Million Loan song as a protest against Trump. But it's just like, man, it's so hard for me to like give a shit. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
It's just that's where I'm at this point, and that's life.
It
And
was a small loan.
it's $1 million loan, just $1 million. But we're at where we're at now, and that's
Yeah.
fine. I don't know what else to say other than
Is there anything
bring it
interesting
on.
besides the election stuff?
Uh,
Seems to be like that's the number one.
I mean, it's what the headlines are all on about. And I'm sure that there are other interesting things that are going on. It would just require me to maybe like look into it. I mean, uh, in terms of content to enjoy, I recently watched. I actually quite enjoy GDC talks. I quite like listening to how the game studios in the West are interacting with design and getting to learn the talk shop stuff. But also at the same time, like, oh, like the industry is still in a pretty shitty spot. I don't know when on God's green earth they're ever going to publish that damn magazine of theirs, but it's like I wrote for the Blaze's upcoming publication. Just right now, like it was in the 90s, there's a lot of bloat. There's a lot of, shitty games coming out. So hopefully indie studios will be the way of the future and things will move in
Yeah.
a good direction. And we'll be thankful that that's what we get. So the smaller teams and studios is where it seems to be. Other than that, I
Yeah.
don't have really much to talk about. So, I mean, if you had an article or an essay you want to go over, by all
The
means, let's
Kamala
do it.
Brat thing. That we already covered that.
It's so
It's
so bad.
cringe.
It's so yeah. I mean, it's just cringe. It's bad. It's annoying. No one. It feels so hard to believe that people actually believe in this, but I know that you cannot, in any good conscience, act like that this is all fake and gay. No, there are genuine believers in the same way that there were genuine like Hillary Clinton partisans. Like we need to accept the fact that this is what we're going to be dealing with and what we have to live with.
Well, my point was that you have to like really look at things through the eyes of people that will appeal, that would appeal to that. That was like my post was about Kamala, is that you have to not think of things as a frog. You have to like really think of things as a normie cattle person. I know I shouldn't say that, but whatever. And I think that you have to really think of things through the eyes of people that would appeal to. And the fact that like a lot of these Zoomers are coming of age to vote, and like how are they going to, and like a lot of people were gloating over the fact that the demographics aren't on Trump's side. And that is like an incredibly blackpilling thing. And that's something that you do have to like really consider. And it's like, what are you going to do in the future? Because there was that like obnoxious, stupid, like Act Blue psyop activist in Texas. What's her name?
Oh, the
We
big
talked
fat
about
one.
her. Yeah, Juliana, whatever. She's like
Okay.
the Hispanic fat girl. And
you repeat yourself, sir. Hispanic fat girl.
Not all of them are all. Not that I would like criticize anyone for being fat, but I'm just saying that she had this. I remember she said what did she say, that Zoomers just like Zoomers stopped the red wave? Was it
Yeah.
2022?
Yeah.
She was kind of right. And I hate to say it, but that is just the truth of it. Is that maybe they did stop? No, we all know what happened. The Republican Party helped to stop the red wave because they hate Trump. But apart from that, maybe that is a case. Maybe that is a reality.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, like it's not like Gen Z is a particularly conservative group of people. Let's not kid ourselves.
yeah.
I mean, really the honestly thing is just like if you're white and you're Gen Z, it's really 50-50 what your politics are. Like you're either something on the right or you're, pro team, like I trans heart, my transition or whatever. And it's just like, we talk about being programmable or whatever, but I mean, it's things can be and will be all the more stupid. Like if you think things are dumb now, just give it 5 years. Like, because I mean, we talk about like even like the elite human capital stuff. It's just like, can you imagine a democratic politician that has the political independence or mental acuity of Daniel Patrick Moynihan? Can you think of one Republican that wants to be or has the capability of acting like Jack Kemp, and not in an unironic way or in an ironic way, like, oh, Jack Kemp had the right idea. Let's like return to normie centrism. But
Yeah.
like someone who's willing to like address things in a policy wonkish kind of way. I mean, like no one wants to do that. The same way you're not going to get the Moynihan report style of politics without what's the word I'm looking for? Without it being some like racist Twitter anon doing basic statistics, or that Asian woman who hates white people doing the
Oh, IO.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like clearly you hate the fact that the things that you write about are used by white people to talk about the issues, and you're just like, well, I got remember guys, I hate them more. I hate those chuds, and this is where we're at.
Yeah. I don't know why people follow her or Hanania. That's just it's beyond me. But it is what it is, man.
It is what it is, man.
That's what that's.
Do we have we ever had a show title with "It Is What It Is"?
We should.
I don't think we do.
We've never had it. No. We should have that. Yeah. Because I always used to say that before. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
No,
I mean,
it's true.
And it truly is. It is what it is. That's the crazy part. It actually is what it is.
But no, it's true. It's true. So let's transition to the passage I wanted to read from Hypermodernity. And this is a dialogue between John David Ebert and a guy that's like kind of like a leftoid, but he's like an old school, like Chris Hedges type leftoid, Brian Francis Calkin. But apparently they had like a falling out, which is not, I hate to say it, it's not out of character for John David Ebert to like have a falling out with various people that he does business with. But it is what it is. Apparently the guy tried to snake him, but I don't know. I'm not going to go over Sektur drama. So this is the first passages from Brian Francis Calkin, who talks about how we don't really live in a global village. About Zbigniew was in many ways the prototypical neoliberal. He was part of the Carter presidency administration, was a key figure in Obama. 2008, but he recognized that McLuhan's vision of a happy global village was not going to happen. Thing was going to happen. It was increasingly political strife, increasing social atomization, increasing psychological fragmentation, and most importantly, increasing urbanization.
I'm always blown away by people who say that McLuhan saw this big happy vision for the future.
He didn't.
Like in any of his interviews when they talk about the global village, he's basically telling you familiarity breeds contempt.
Yeah.
And why are you surprised? Like he has this great interview when he's talking about like the Quebec politics in the 70s. It's like 1977. And I've linked to this one before in pieces. And they were asking him, he's just like, well, this interviewer's like, well, what about the global village? And he's like, what did you think it was going to bring? People together and we were all going to be happy? No. The closer we are with people, the more we realize we're different and that we kind of hate each other.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, there's no doubt about that being true.
But I think,
anyways, it is a nitpick, but I think that it's just an important one.
No, it's true. It's true. And the thing is, like you were mentioning about the music you used to listen to, and the music, I mean, we talked about this before. Like I was very much of more of a chud persuasion than other people. Like, I was more of like into metal, and I was in a new metal, and then a lot of the really like tech death that was going on at the time. I had a grunge phase. So, I think, you look at that like Brad thing, you look at that music video that apparently got 1 million views on TikTok with Kamala Harris and some stupid song, right?
Yeah.
The death of guitar-driven music in North America, I mean, it's still going strong in Europe, but the death of guitar-driven music as the cultural output in North America to like rap and hip-hop and like pop slop, I think like that is probably indicative of the changing monoculture of what America was built around, especially in those days in the early 2000s, where if you were like a suburban white chud, like it was your time. It was like X Games, Woodstock 99, pro wrestling was good, metal, Corn, the video games was good. Like everything, like the whole culture in the early 2000s and the late 90s was geared towards the chud. But by the time you get to Obama, then you have like the neoliberal kitchification of all culture, to which Black culture is a huge part of it, underlying output of in the culture industry. The best illustration, you want to know what the mid 2000s was? The best illustration was that god awful episode of Anthony Bourdain, the loser Anthony Bourdain, who the Clintons got him with a door hang. Anyways, never mind. Anthony Bourdain and Obama drinking beer in some like little shack Asian Vietnamese restaurant. That's their picture of the global village. That image of Obama and Anthony Bourdain in some hovel, hole in the wall Asian restaurant drinking some kind of like foreign import beer. That like, if you want to talk about neoliberal kitsch, like that. Someone posted, I think it was Watching Spirals posted that the other day, and I'm like, yep, that's the 2000s. That's neoliberal kitsch right there, that one image. And Kamala Harris in a music video where she's a bra and all that stuff. There you go. That's like neoliberal kitsch personified. So get ready. Let's get more of it. More of it's on the way.
Except with, the what's it called? The Tennessee corporate or Memphis corporate.
Yeah. Humans of flat
more
design.
of that. Just more of that.
Yeah.
And also with a good taste of that sort of Adult Swim Rick and Morty irony or nihilism.
Yeah, and Cal Arts aesthetic.
Like remember, like you are the enemy. Like you, like really just expect more resentful Will Stancil levels of politics.
Yeah. And that's why they hate Smiling Friends too, because Smiling Friends is not like as nihilistic as Rick and Morty. It's like in some ways the anti Rick and Morty.
It really is.
Yeah.
I don't think you can knock them for being, like, I can mathematically prove that you're, evil or awful or whatever. Instead, it's more like, Zach Hadel getting quasi-canceled by lefties. They're like, oh man, he was talking about like the Great Replacement in 2016 or whatever. It's just like, well,
with John Tron,
yeah. It's just like, well, does everyone forget just what early YouTube was like?
No, exactly.
These, like big celebrities.
Yeah, the Newgrounds.
The Newgrounds like type of people won, and even those people, like, they either became far rightists or they became like, the people who commission, or the people commissioned for furry porn. Like it's either or. Like it really is just like an either or at the end of the day for a lot of these things.
There's a few tracks. If you were a Newgrounds kid, you either become like Emily Yukis, or you become trans furry, or you become like New Age liberal Lev Polyakov. There's like no middle. It's like between Emily Yukis and the trans furries, and the direct middle is Lev Polyakov. And Spaz Kid. That's amazing. That's incredible. Yeah, Smiling Friends is old internet. Exactly. Yeah, 100%. I did it ready. Yeah. That's true. So
it really is.
You either become a transfer, you become Emily Yukis if you're a Newgrounds kid. Oh my god, that's incredible. So carrying on, and this is then John D. Ebert will get involved here. But you have to realize that this is a dialogue between two people rather than like a well fleshed out book. I think, John, that this is an important point, that hypermodernity is a system of cities. Hypermodernity is not a system of country towns, of farming villages, or even nation states. It's a system that empties these communal places and draws people into the city. We've already been through this to a certain extent in America, starting in the 1800s, in these two competing visions. On one side, it was the vision of Jefferson, who wanted a country of small farmers and independent tradespeople. And the other side, his arch enemy, of course, was Alexander Hamilton. Now, I think that's a bit of a simplification, but anyways, who has a vision of cities, of central banking, of strong government control, of an elementary transitional capital, or elementary transitional capitalism? What's very interesting is that the only in hypermodernity could a musical play like speaking of neoliberal catch, could a music play like Hamilton become famous? You know why? Because hypermodernity is the direct telos of Alexander Hamilton's vision. And only in a situation like we're in now can Hamilton's story be told in a hip-hop ballad by a kid named Lin-Manuel Miranda from Spanish Harlem. I find this kind of idealizing of Alexander Hamilton to be profoundly symptomatic of the ideological horizon that we're in now. Because Alexander Hamilton is the enemy of the working class, the ultimate enemy of the people. Now, I don't know. I mean, they sort of like polluted his vision, in my opinion. Even though he himself is from the working class background, he came from poverty in the Caribbean, and he himself is really interesting rags to rich story. So he goes on to say, so now this is John David Ebert. Yes, it's interesting that Hamilton's vision that has been championed now and now Jefferson's, and not Jefferson's. The debate between Jefferson and Hamilton went back and forth about what the capital of America was going to be, either New York or D.C., and Jefferson insisted, I'm not going anywhere near an urban agglomeration. The capital is going to be out here in the countryside in swampy, mosquito-infested D.C. It's going to be rural. It's going to be close to the agrarian plantations where everybody knows everybody else, and it's a little village. Plantations are a sort of self-sufficient village unto themselves, and everybody has to become a kind of generalist because you have to know how to do everything. No one is a specialist. Specialism is part of the Northern industrialism. And in the debate between when the capital should be located in either New York or D.C., you can already see the Civil War coming. You can already foresee where the struggle is going to be. Is it going to be an agrarian village cosmology, or is it going to be an urban megapolis? And of course, Hamilton's vision has won out. Then he goes on to say, this is John David Ebert. So then, Brian Francis Culkin asks him about Hamilton's and Jefferson's vision and Hamilton's ideology. Then he says, so only in hypermodern culture can a play like Hamilton become famous. John David Ebert says, I think there is a good segue to introduce another anthropological type of hypermodernity, which I call the Eschatarian. I invented the term to cover the phenomenon of the Balkanization and the secessionist movements in America, in the American West, starting with Ruby Ridge, which comes right in 1992. It follows by Waco in 93. Then the Freedom Standoff in Montana in 94, followed by Oklahoma City in 1995. A bunch of secessionist movements, and therefore a bunch of farmers in northern Colorado tried to cede from the southern Colorado. They tried to get it passed as a referendum to separate Colorado because they regard eastern and southern Colorado, where Boulder, for instance, is dominated by liberals, to be decadent and completely at odds with the traditional Bible Belt agrarian world farmer mentality. You can trace this fault line going across the American West right down to the Rockies into Texas, where none too long ago we had a racist serial bomber. And more of these movements that have happened in the West, and he mentions Clive and Bundy, the Eschatology, the Book of Revelation, the obsession with it, and the end of the world. Remember, we had Waco and David Koresh and his Seventh-day Adventism, and we want to pay attention to this kind of development because they form what Arnold Toynbee called the internal proletariats. An internal proletariat is in a society, but not of a society. It's what forms in a society when society isn't working. And so certain groups then secede from the body, social and leadership of what used to be the creative minority, which now denigrated into the dominant minority, who can no longer lead. Once a dominant minority comes in, according to Toynbee, it tries to lead by force, and you end up getting secessionist movements such as Spartacus slave revolts, let's say, and those secessionist movements created those little pockets that are almost like cancerous tumors within the body social, because they don't want to play by the rules of the larger game of the DNA that programs for the entire civilization. They're not into that. They're seceding from the body social with a different eschatology, a different cosmology, a different ontology. And if one of these internal proletariats was, of course, Christianity. The slave revolts of the Romans, blah, blah, blah. Then he mentions, Buddhism was somewhat similar in India via Hinduism, which was also bound not to racism in the case, but to casteism. And Buddhism overrode all of that and became triumphant. But with these developments in the American West, I'm a little worried. I see the ramblings of potential Western balkanization. It would not surprise me at all if the Rockies became a kind of boundary marker demarcating a Western United States from an Eastern United States, each with totally different values. The West, but not the West Coast, of course, being more of a militant Christian Sectarian system, and the East being more of this Hamiltonian vision of hypermodernity when the triumph of the urban megalopolis. Rising sea levels are going to swamp Hamilton's beloved coastal cities, however. Their days are numbered. Then he talks about NAFTA, neoliberalism.
Well,
So
certainly the internet has helped accelerate our own fractionalization.
Yeah, and that's their whole point. And so I think that, John David Ure, he always has this like weird repulsion but kissing cousin relationship to the E-right. Like I remember when he was having this like breakdown about it was about his ex-GF that sunsetted. He's like, these alt-right guys, they don't know about romance and love, but then he's posting about women on Twitter, and it's quite hairy, but you know what I mean. So Johnny Deere, he like, for example, he hates that one book by Spangler, Hour of Decision, but he then will later admit that it is an important book. So he's like an unwilling. He realizes that a lot of people in his audience are from the E-right, but he himself is like an unwilling participant in the E-right. So just take what he says with a grain of salt. But what did you make of that, Prude?
I think that it's a little dated, I think. I mean, the whole Eschatologian type deal. I mean, maybe not. Maybe there is. That feels so dated with the times, like, oh boy, does anyone who talks about the end of the world revelation stuff? I mean, I think that is a big part of maybe the turn of the millennium that doesn't get focused on so much anymore as it once used to. And then at the same time, I mean, there is sort of a great fractionalization, but I think it's been greater homogenized, and it's not as regional because the internet really has become this weird. Oh, what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, it's been this great pencil that you poke through a map and it kind of flattens everything out, and it's easy to travel across distances and terrain. And with that, I don't think it's going to be I think that the balkanization may become in a much more superficial level, just because, I mean, culture.
Well, he would consider MAGA being one of them, being an Eschatologian movement.
Perhaps so, in the same way that you could argue that, like, maybe turbo progressive liberalism for America is, because it's the end of history is technically a kind of eschaton, that history ends and there's an ultimate victory overall. And you could argue that that's eschatarian, and I think that there's a case to be made for it, absolutely. But at the same time, right, like, you also have this great downgrade of beliefs and ideas and or not maybe ideas, but maybe just identity in general. Like, the Great Deracination has happened in part because of the internet, and part of globalization, and also due to immigration. And so, like, it's really easy to say, like, oh, well, what is Texas? Oh, it's like HEB and like Buc-ee's and Whataburger over, In-N-Out, and it's got the Dallas Cowboys and the Houston Astros or whatever. And so it's just like it becomes very watered down and very consumable. And sort of this, like, oh, well, you can participate in an ergo control society takes its place and takes its role. And I think that that'll be a big part of where we're going in the future. So maybe our balkanization, as long as things continue to where they are, they'll just be watered down snippets of consumer identity and fandom. And I mean, even with religion, people have turned religion into just a skin suit as an identifier. Like, oh, people will put a cross or they'll put the Vatican flag in their bio as a way to identify with some sort of external group, because everyone's longing for identity. And because we don't really kill each other in terms of establishing borders, we do it on the internet through flame wars and ratios and these constant internet polemics over theology that no one really reads or understands, not just in actual religion, but also political theology, and so if we're going to be balkanized, it's going to be people that are aimless, alone, angry, clinging on to scraps of something that was once richer and much deeper than it used to be, living up to the definition of bowling alone, but are greatly happy to take their anger out on another group that's just as messed up as they are.
Yeah, but no, but I think that in a way, there's been a lot of talk, especially after the assassination attempt, of sort of like, and it was there in the beginning of the 2016 with Keck and all that, that there is like sort of a providential nature of Trump. And I think like that, if anything, is sort of like Eschatologian ideology, in the sense that Trump is a man of history, and notice how like right away, like literally a few days after, they had to like find a way to distract people from what happened by going with Kamala Harris and her being like the girl boss that stands atop all of the BioPOC girl boss that stands atop all of America. Like they had to do that to basically, and then, Nicholas Saldo had a great point. Like the real story still is Trump's assassination and his, raising of the fist. And that is a way of like distracting you from what actually happened. And so it is sort of like imperative to not like let that burn out of the public light. You know what I mean? Like I think it's actually quite sad how like they had to pivot to such a dramatic degree to like distract people from what happened. But then Wormhatcher says, like, what about, nobody talks about the apocalypticism on the left, or global warming, public health issues. Well, yeah, that's true, but I think that the apocalypticism on the left is kind of different in the sense that their policy proposal for that is more just like more of the same, like more transnational progressivism, more of the present, more of their policy, more of them controlling things. Whereas I think like it's such on a monumental and material scale that it sort of goes in the background. It doesn't really have a metaphysics unless you are like one of these like ex-hippie, deep ecologist type of people where you truly believe in the spiritual power of the earth. The average like leftoid, that like the average like stop oil person, they're really, it's almost like an anti-metaphysics. So in a way it kind of is eschatologian, but it's like it's more of like a celebration of dirt and mud and material matter rather than something that can deliver you into a newer height of deliverance. So I think like that's a key difference, because people on the political right, new religious movements of the political right, whether it be of pagan or Christian, eschatologianism or whatever, that is like more metaphysical. That is something that is providential. And I think Donald Trump, in a weird way, sort of grafts onto that, because his sort of galvanization of a proletariat implies that he is sort of like the last man of history in our time, and that he is like quote unquote bringing history back. Whether he does or not is up for debate, but people people on our side of things truly believe that yes, Donald Trump is wresting history away from the hands of the Fukuyamite transnational progressive type of sector that runs the world. And so I think like that is a good definition of what the eschatarians are. Yeah, I hope that makes sense.
No, I think so. Although, isn't it funny to witness the apocalypse be monetized or gamified for?
Yeah.
I mean, if you want the sort of nihilist take, if like you don't believe in anything, then like of course you're going to take advantage of some quasi-religious eschatological view to capitalize on it. I mean, climate change, great example. Like we are doing irreparable damage to the environment in ways that aren't really getting talked about.
Right.
And instead it's like, oh, well, we have this timeline that we can constantly change, like the Millerites or whatever. And that's how we are. It's crazy to consider that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I mean, well, it's not crazy to consider it. It's depressing, because like actually the world is getting worse in so many ways, but instead, it's these models. The models determine everything. It's just like, okay. And if you were like a bitter atheist, you would say like, well, this is no fucking different than like these golden plates that say the world's going to end in this day or whatever.
No, but that's why, like, you see it with people like Hanania, like, it doesn't really matter to them. Like, it's like, might as well just worship power. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, even like the Just Stop Oil people, like, I know we've only talked about it like briefly, but like, really, what is, like, would they automatically imply a form of primitivism? like where global travel or travel of any kind is shut down? Like what do they mean by stop? You know what I mean? Like I know it's like a stupid question because are they sort of like anarcho-primitivists, or are they just like these weird funded left-wing activist groups that really aren't going to accomplish anything, but they have like, do you remember that one crazy lady on British television? I think it was on the BBC, where she's like, she had like those Simpaku eyes and she was like a Just Stop Oil person. You remember that interview, Prude? I think, oh, was it the BBC?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'd have to.
she had like those crazy, like she was like totally like in a religious mania. It was like very, and the thing is like I understand like if you wanted to restructure life and travel and so forth, but it's sort of like you're going up against huge forces that have been built up for millennia. That it's just, I don't know, like what does stopping oil like really imply? You know what I mean? Like it's certainly, you really like rack your brain about it.
Mm.
I don't know. But anyways, stop blackpilling. Why are you blackpilling? Why don't you blackpill? We don't like living Junior G. Oh man. That's a good comment right there, Max Power.
Mm.
But yeah, I see you're running out of steam, Prude. So
No, it's not that. It's keep reading. Just keep reading.
Okay, well, I'll read one more pass. Let's see, what did he? That was pretty much the passage. Oh, what else did he say? Does he mention MAGA here? Oh, here we go.
That
Here
was
we
actually
go.
going to be my next question. When did this get published? I mean, it references Hamilton.
This was published Hypermodernity in 2019.
Okay, so this is 5 years ago.
Yeah. So here we go. This is near the end of the book, fifth dialogue, speculations on the future. Brian Francis Culkin writes, when we start to speculate on what comes with hypermodernity, as it further develops, it's very hard to gauge anything. We could potentially be at the end of the road here, or should I rather say a road. There are, of course, to follow Hamlet, more things in heaven and earth than dreamt of in your philosophy. But what do you listen to Stephen Hawking or Elon Musk or Ray Kurzweil, who is the director of Google X Labs? I don't believe he's the director of Google X Labs anymore. This is the general sentiment that stretches across so much of the technological thought edifice, which is namely that eventually human beings are somehow going to merge with digital technologies. We're going to integrate with the machines or artificial intelligence. And if this happens, at least for me, that fundamentally signifies the end of humanity. There's no evolution of the human race, and many of these ideologies would have us believe. This is a very naive analysis of the situation. So the way I like to think about it, and we are now coming into a fork in the road, and we call this hypermodern fork. One side of the fork is simply more hypermodernity, the intensification of everything. Then John David Ebert says, more of everything. It's a shift into a kind of hyperthyroid cultural metabolism. Then John David Ebert says, yes, and it seems to me like hypermodernity also signals the beginning of the process of leaving our cities, our very physical spaces behind. There's the sucking of retail space into the internet, which has left all shopping malls littering our landscapes, now with these rotting ghost relics that look like they were left over from some other age. Just one rotting carapace dotting the landscape after the next. And for me, that signifies the beginning of the fact that we are withdrawing from physical space. We've withdrawing from the physicality of being orientated in Deleuze and Guattari's striated space, which is configured by the cities, and we are now moving into the clouds. Like Michael Aaron Kamens talks about in the Clouds Poetry Cycle. And this is an etherealization process. To use Tomby's phrase, an etherealization of technology where now everything moves into the cloud and cities become portable. You can carry it wherever you go, and you have the city at your hand. An iPhone is simply a miniaturization of the city, the global herb. So it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter where you go. You can take the city where you are, anywhere. And the interesting thing about that, though, is that we have the larger eschatology looming ahead of us, given to us by ecologists about the melting of the glaciers. The West Antarctic ice shelf is melting at an alarming rate, and Greenland will too eventually, and this is mathematically certain. When these glaciers melt, the sea levels will rise to about 70 feet higher than now over the next 5 centuries. So 5 centuries, that's the limit point beyond which this particular mode of civilization cannot go. And most of our coastal cities will be underwater much sooner than we thought, especially the low-lying ones in Bangladesh, New Orleans, the Netherlands, Miami, Boston, and Maldive Islands, New York, and they're all goners in a couple of centuries, no matter which way you slice the pie. So that it's sort of eschatology given to us now by science. Ironically, science seems to keep handing back to us things that once used to be the province of religion, such as the near-death experiences and things like that. But here, what's handed to us now is a scientifically approved eschatology for the first time in history. Science is giving up an apocalypse. Science is giving us an apocalypse that we know is going to happen. There's no way around it, so I think that hypermodernity may signify the beginning of this accelerated erosion, not out of only human nervous systems, as you said, but also of physical spaces itself. It's going to be a long process, and hypermodernity seems to be the beginning of leaving physical space behind. And he talks about that Nolan film, Interstellar, which honestly I don't care for. But yeah, no, I think like maybe we'll live in Waterworld. Do you remember that film, Waterworld?
I think I only saw that once.
Yeah, me too, a long time ago. But
yeah, it's been a hot minute since I've seen Waterworld.
Oh man, maybe that'll be reality. We'll all live in our like Peter Thiel, Palantir, seasteading villages, and we'll all just be on the internet 24/7.
That sounds nightmarish as all can be.
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
Truly, just absolutely nightmarish.
Yeah, but Waterworld, the movie that's a Simpsons reference once.
Oh boy!
Imagine believing in climate change. I don't know. Like I'm like the whole like the glacier melting thing. I don't know if like I'm not totally sold on it. But...
Is mankind doing things that are irreparably damaging the environment? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Is our agriculture sustainable? No, not at all. Or the way that we're dealing with like waste and other things manageable? No, it could be a lot better. Are we ever really going to address those issues and instead cynically watch power talk about climate models that may affect things in the future that we may not really be able to know while still not fully understanding like the full cyclical nature of how carbon operates in our atmosphere? And we have models that may actually indicate that things are much different than they actually are proposed to be. Yeah, who knows? But
yeah, 100%.
Instead, what are we going to witness? We're going to witness the destruction of our environment while politicians bicker and argue over how to expropriate more money and power on a global scale over your life and continue to watch the Western world's quality of life decline while, allowing other nations like China and India pollute nonstop, and no one's going to stop them. So, I'm very jaded on it, just in part because, are we doing things that are wrong in the environment? Yeah, but are we actually going to fix them? No.
No.
Things will get worse.
Yeah, well, we can't because all of civilization is predicated on non-renewable energy. So I think that's your big problem. I mean, if you want to build a bunch of nuclear power plants everywhere, maybe, but until that happens, not that I'm 100% pro-nuclear, but I think obviously what are you gonna do? Welcome to hell, you'll survive, unfortunately. Oh,
yes.
Boy. Yeah.
Yes.
No, but that's what I mean. Most mainstream climate people, they're just totally unserious because they're not willing to truly disrupt any real power structure. They'll just talk about it, and that's it. Tibet will be the only superpower in the future. Who said that? Yo, mama, Tibet will be the only superpower. Well, that's a vision of that's
it's
what
a very
I talk
Max
about.
Brooks take.
Yeah. It's I talk about this when I did my Content Minded episode. The one from a few weeks ago about Nikolai Roerich, where the Maitreya of Buddhism will come back, this Buddhist prophet, the Maitreya will come back. There will be a glorious city of Shambhala that will emanate an emerald magenta light, and it will be a shining hill, a rock on the top of the world, and the real power of the East will be realized. And then the Chinese Communist Party will fall, and the Tibetan theocracy will be restored, and it will be glorious. And so that is the vision of Nikolai Roerich, when the Maitreya will come back, and it'll be better. Anyways, So we're gonna go to super chat soon. I actually have quite a bit of great super chats, but let's check in the Chris Hedges, his latest article in the UNS review. And of course, see the headline is the picture of Guernica by by Picasso. He talks about Gaza and Jericho, the myth of Jericho. Let's see, what's he getting to? I mean, it's about the Palestinians. And has by the way, Chad, has there been any development with Palestine, or is it just much of the same? What's really going on? I know that there was always movement going on every day on the Eastern Front in with Ukraine, but I haven't, like, I don't know, has there been any news about Gaza? I know that they were bombing Damascus here and there, but yeah, see, Pac-Man, that won't happen for another 5,000 years. The Maitreya will come, and the glorious city of Shambhala will stand atop the world. And yeah, unfortunately, I hate that painting. Well, okay, I think Guernica. I mean, well, Prude has to. Well, he's going to come back, but Guernica, I think, is a monumental work of art. But it is, at the end of the day, communist propaganda that's specifically weaponized against, Franco's regime. But in terms of what it accomplished as a mural, in Picasso's development, I just from like a purely objective art history standpoint, I do quite like Guernica, but it is, I mean, if you divorce it from its politics, if you look at it from what is as being a sort of capstone of a particular development of where Picasso was going, then I think Guernica is a monumental work of art. Like, it has a lot of his influences, especially from his childhood with the bullfights and everything. And it is really a monumental mural. And the fact that I think it was the first time he used latex paint, or he used some kind of enamel paint or something. Guernica. Even the horse and donkey screaming. Yeah, well, that of course is, the symbol of the Spanish people. And I know, like, a lot of leftoids they use is like, this is wholesome Chungus communism. But yeah, but Guernica is, I think, truly one of his best. And are you a Velasquez fan? Yeah, I like Velasquez. Anyways, Prude, you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
All right. Jericho was a fun show. I love that show, Jericho. It's sad that Luke Perry died. I don't like his kid, though. I think his kid's a jobber shitter in AEW. But I like Luke Perry. Did you watch that series, Jericho, Prude?
I've seen a few episodes, but I don't know enough to really tell you I'm a fan or whatnot.
That was great. It was a great series where all the it was sort of like when I was a kid, I in school we had to read that book, Girl Who Owned a City. It was sort of like that. All the adults died off.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it was a good series, but I think it only had like 2 seasons or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I should go and rewatch it if they have it on YouTube or wherever. So anyways, let's get to the super chats. I have a lot. Oh my god, I have a lot of entropy ones, and I have quite a Did Jay Ford? Do you do a typo there? Is that a real super chat by Jay Ford?
We'll find out.
We'll find out. Okay. So
he'll angrily tell you, give him his money back.
I wouldn't know the first thing about doing that. I guess, how do you take money away on entropy? Do you have to petition entropy?
I have no idea. I'm sure you'll find
idea.
out when he gets a charge back.
I know people used to do that to Ethan Ralph, or they used to do that to other lolcows. Like, they would send a big donation then rescind it. Like, that was that's terrible. That's total yeah, it's bad. Anyways, the first one, this is the entropy super chats. Seneca, our good friend Seneca, US $3 for Missouri lore. Missouri lore, William Quantrill. William Quantrill was a bushwhacker during the Civil War. And for those who don't know, Prude, what is a bushwhacker for those who don't know? It's a woodsman, right? Or
Damn it, man, I'm trying to take pills and you're asking me questions.
Oh, sorry.
You're good.
Prude's taking his Ritalin pills. Who said that in the chat? Prude is taking his Ritalin pills.
I wish.
Yeah, I wish too.
No, bushwhacking was a type of guerrilla warfare. Or someone who travels or lives in thinly, sparsely populated woodlands.
Well, wasn't bushwhacker also like a term for the Boers as well? Or
I don't know. I'd have to look it
yeah,
up.
a guerrilla partisan that mostly jungle warfare. Oh, that's interesting. I know bushwhacker also just means general like woodsman, right? Or anyways. Well, Quattrell was a bushwhacker during the Civil War. Man was an animal. Look up the Lawrence Massacre, and you'll understand why I despise him. Was he for the Union? William Quattrell. Well, Missouri wasn't Missouri part of the Confederacy? Was a Confederate American criminal. Was a Confederate guerrilla during the American Civil War. Experienced a turbulent childhood, became a school teacher, joined the group of bandits who roamed the Missouri and Kansas countryside to apprehend escaped slaves. The group became irregular pro-Confederate soldiers called Quattrell's Raiders. Part of the Ranger outfit, best known for its often brutal guerrilla tactics, including the young Jesse James. Whoa! And his older brother, Frank James. Wow! Influenced many bandits, outlaws, and hired guns of the American frontier as it became settled. On August 21st, 1863, Quattrell's Raiders committed the Lawrence Massacre. Was mortally wounded in the combat by U.S. troops in central Kentucky, one of the last engagements of the American Civil War. He died of his wounds in June 1865. And the Lawrence Massacre was an attack during the American Civil War by Quattrell's Raiders, a Confederate guerrilla group led by William Quattrell on the Unionist town of Lawrence, Kansas, killing around 150 unarmed men and boys.
Yep.
Because the town was abolitionist, Jayhawks, blah, blah, blah. Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah, they have bleeding Kansas part of all this as well.
Yeah.
Missouri's a hotly contested border state. I mean, you had over 100,000 guys from Missouri volunteer for the Union and some 50,000 for the Confederacy. But I mean, yeah, it's not pretty stuff.
And Missouri was a Union state?
Kind of.
But it had Confederate elements in it.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Oh man. Yeah.
It was a slave state.
Oh, okay, yeah. But there were states that like they were on the fence, right? They were sort of swing states, if you could go. Yeah. Interesting. All right. But yeah, thank you, Seneca. I always appreciate the Missouri lore update. Was Jesse James from Missouri or no? He was just a part of the Raiders.
It's a great question.
I wonder. Anyway, Sean Schaefer.
No, he was born in Missouri near Kearney.
Oh my God! Wow.
And would die in St. Joseph.
Crazy.
Yeah.
The Boers are called bitter enders, which is similar pronunciation to their language. Wasn't there a WWF bushwhacker? Yeah, the bushwhacker was a wrestler, but he was sort of like just a gimmick wrestler jobber. He wasn't, So then Graham McCann asked, Gio, I know important political stuff is going on, consequential stuff to discuss, but what about Bish Tank? Who's your favorite girl? Claire, Haley? I like the chubby, violent one. She's my favorite one. She really is, she is like a wrecking ball. So I forget her name, but anyways, Sean Schaefer for $5. Oh yeah, so he asked me. So Graham McCann did give a super chat for $5. So yeah, I think I forget who the one is, the chubby one, but she's my favorite. And Sean Schaefer for $5. Evening, gents. The court necromancer seems to be working overtime this week. Quote, so sedated as they medicate your brain, and while you slowly go insane, they tell you give with the best intentions, help you with your complications. AV7F nightmare. Whoa. That's crazy. Oh, Avenged Sevenfold. Oh, yeah, that is an Avenged Sevenfold song. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually saw Avenged Sevenfold. They were on this like I think it was called Rockstar Energy Drink Tour.
Yeah.
And and Avenged Sevenfold was the headline with Disturbed. I saw them, I saw Hell Yeah, and I saw Disturbed. So are you an Avenged Sevenfold fan?
Some. I don't hate them. Some of it's good.
There you go. It's pretty good. And we got Bellio Bradley for $10. Buonasera. Buonasera to you, Bellio Bradley. Thank you very much. Then our good friend Anon Anam for $10. I've got a lot of friends and family that even after recent events still haven't developed cynicism towards the regime and its allied institutions. Is there still hope, or should I just learn how to live with it? Great show as always. Oh, what do you think, Prude?
I think that it's important to accept that some people won't get it. Well, one way or the other, not saying that Um, Gio and I have the 100% end all be all answers to everything on politics
Hmm.
or the times, but if some people aren't going to, and some people either choose to engage in some kind of auto amputation or just choose to ignore it. And I mean, um, not everyone's gonna uh, look at it the same way you do, or I do, or Geo does. And I think it's important to consider some never will, and you have to just accept that, as painful as that may be.
Yeah. No, and I also think that there hasn't been I mean, there's been sufficient but not necessary conditions for people developing a well-rounded cynicism towards what they are being, what's essentially being forced down their throats by the various institutions and media outlets and so forth, and apparatuses of power. Because there is sufficient elements. I mean, people are at a, a slower but then not so slow pace losing their way of life and losing their purchasing power, and very much a lot of the stuff that Trump talked about during that speech, which I do feel like I talked about this in the core report, that I do feel like should have been trimmed up and should have had more of a direct point. And it was kind of rambly, but I do think that he does bring up a lot of good points about people are losing their ways of life. But is it like South Africa rolling blackouts, food shortages bad yet? Probably not, but who knows? I mean, mismanagement of very complicated systems tend to look very ugly. And there were instances in history of very complicated ways of life and systems that prop up the sort of like turnkey notion of technocratic society that then, when there is enough entropy, when there is enough chaos, very quickly degrades. And I think a lot of people aren't ready to really experience that. And it's just, for example, it's even small things like what happens if traffic lights go out of order and there's not enough people that can fix them on time in certain neighborhoods especially. Or what happens when produce in the grocery store, and this is happening here in Canada, is already of a markedly lower quality for a higher price. But the price keeps getting higher and the paycheck keeps getting shorter. And so I think people have to think of those things integrally rather than just like some dramatic Hollywood version of apocalypse. And I think that we're not ready to experience the collapse of very complicated systems because of mismanagement, because of bio-Leninism, because of the boomers dying off. Uh, it's very tricky. And for as much as we hate the boomers, and yes, you probably don't hate them enough, they did leave in their stead very complicated systems of technical knowledge, systems of government, and systems of public works. That if there isn't enough sufficient people that care or invested in that system, there are a number of critical flaws. And I don't believe that you can have a totally turnkey style of technocratic governance. I think that's a fantasy of people like John Dewey and Rawls and Fukuyama. There has to be a sort of visionary leadership at the top. There has to be an aristocratic class that are deeply invested in the governance of people in order to really have a functioning civilization. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think about the Prude?
I think that there hasn't been a big enough shock. Maybe,
Yeah,
who knows? I don't know what it'll take. I mean, they consider also like, how would we react to 9/11 if we had the social media circus we do today? I think we would
there'd be
not.
memes of it.
We'd be memeing it. There'd be like soy jacks of it, like within the hour. So I
There'd be the
mean,
grape monster meme.
it'd be, yeah.
There'd be
I mean,
Cobson, yeah.
I don't know what to say other than like I think that the cynicism's required.
What shock is big enough? Haven't we had them? Well, we've had a series of small shocks that coalesce into a degrading way of life. But even a big enough shock, I mean, yeah, it's
Yeah, I give it time.
there doesn't even have to be that big of a shock. It just has to mean that people are made abundantly clear that the way of life that you grew up in is no longer reality. And a lot of people like us millennials, we have experienced that. Our way of life that we grew up in no longer exists.
Yeah.
And yeah, so and for both the positive and the negative, because the digital anima, the internet giveth, but it also taketh away.
Correct.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, Kurt, we didn't talk about this before I get to super. Apparently, Yarvin's in the media again because of JD Vance. Did you see that? It's in the
Yes,
Atlantic.
I did.
The Atlantic. Did you read it though? I didn't read it though.
No,
I
I
didn't read it.
did not.
Well, you know what they're gonna say. Like, apparently,
it's 2024. I don't think anyone wants to do like NRX explainers again.
yeah.
Like, do you?
Charlemagne did that back in 2015.
I mean, that's what got Charlemagne on the map. Like, do you really want to? Do we want to do this again? No. Is it gonna probably have someone do an explainer? Yeah, it's gonna be a poorly done explainer, probably. But hey,
Vaush is gonna start reading
the Curtis Yarvin of 2007 is not the ride in with Biden,
yeah,
guy of today.
My family, Biden kissed my mother, and he was a great man. Apparently, I don't think this is real. I think it was just a joke. But apparently, they said that Curtis Yarvin wanted to turn poor people into biofuel.
I mean, would that maybe like 2007?
Yeah.
Curtis Yarvin would have.
You know what's funny is that he has Curtis Yarvin has a political theory writing style as a sort of like Woody Allen film dialogue. And I wonder, did they not see the irony of it?
The writing style of a temporarily embarrassed Democrat.
No, but didn't they see it's not real? He's I don't think Curtis Yarvin actually wants to turn poor people into Soylent Green biodiesel.
No, probably not.
But they're gonna run with it anyways, because some people will be like, "Oh my!" Low IQ people, they will.
Oh
read
my
that.
gosh, he's doing the Jonathan Swift bit,
Yeah, JD Vance wants to put us in camps. That's what they're gonna. That's why they're. Even though they this is why you don't hate journalists enough, because those people, they know that it's basically a cynical way of mining a quote from something that's basically just irony. That Yarvin isn't proposing as actual public policy. Yarvin is not texting JD Vance and saying, JD, listen, I think, to solve the homeless problem in California is you got to turn them into biofuel, and Elon Musk is going to create a new, a line of cars where they have biofuel again, but it's not going to be corn. It's not going to be ethanol. It's going to be homeless people.
It's going to be, yeah. It's not happening, but
no.
There's
a lot of frogs.
They're going to act like it is. Yeah.
No, there's a lot of frogs I saw posting this wow, I love Yarvin again.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Many such cases.
Gio really killing a vibe saying we can't Soylent Green the home. Oh, that's
I don't think Yarvin has ever been that far into his hatred or misanthropy to be like, yeah, actually we should just redact all. I don't think he has. I could be wrong.
People? Yeah.
I mean
they all.
I don't know. His late wife had always donated to a homeless.
Yeah.
Something or whatever. But I mean, who knows?
I think he's got the typical social democrat. I feel for them type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, he is in a lot of ways. I think he is just a temporarily embarrassed Democrat.
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to text JD Vance the passage from "Will Life Prevail" by Petty Linkola about the lifeboat. My god, JD Vance, millions must. That's so stupid. But these journalists, they know what they're doing. It's incredible.
Well, yeah.
Anyways, Brian Pickwick, our good friend, for $10, been listening since episode 1. Finally got around to paying the toll. God bless you both. Hoping to get engaged to my trad GF soon. Please send your energy so I can find courage to talk to your dad tomorrow. Thank you. And we are sending power and courage to Brian Pickwick. And if you want a great location to get... No, I'm not going to do that stupid joke. No, I'm not going to do that stupid joke about a certain castle you can get married in. I'm not going to do that. Because it would be belittling the actual situation. Yeah, I think is a great, Well,
no, that's great news. Congratulations. And I pray that you succeed and that you get married and that you both have a long, successful life together.
Yeah, thank you for watching the show. And, one day everyone is going to find their Chad GF of their dreams. So, yeah. But thank you very much. So let's move on. I'm going to save the J Ford one to the end. So Sam153 for $5. How big of a narcissist was a Secret Service woman to not resign? Typical girl boss. Well, she did resign, but it took her a while. And I guess she was forced to resign. I don't know.
And I don't even know how much of it was a force question, but I guess an optics. Like I said at the beginning, it is very strange sometimes just to see rapid bipartisan, let's get this taken care of type deal, especially when, historically it's always been kind of a like, well, we're going to sweep this under the rug or else.
Do you think it's just like an optics play, basically?
I don't know if it is, but I mean, obviously, like, if your job is to protect the president and you can't do that, you have clearly lost the mandate of heaven. And you
exactly.
You definitely deserve to get fired. It is just strange, I guess, to see it actually happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, barring Trump, there was no. Yeah, go ahead, Prince.
No, I mean, like Trump almost getting assassinated, regardless of whatever people might think of it. It's just like it's a pretty big fuck up on the Secret Service's part, and when you obviously can't provide basic answers, like, oh, are you using encrypted information? Are you actually doing your job? Like, okay, well, it's time for you to go. I mean, again, we're not going to ever get full accountability.
Yeah.
That's just the truth.
Well, it's a way to sweep it up, but also I think the fact that, barring the politics and the sort of the spectacle that is Donald J. Trump, the fact that like a former president almost was assassinated, there was no way her job was going to be secure after that happened. There's just no way. They had to get rid of her, and Absolutely. She probably knew it. Yeah. Because you have to realize they were systematically trying to lower the costs of sending Secret Service agents to protect Donald Trump at all of these public rallies, which I think, that is, people don't talk about that enough, that Biden basically wanted to, lower security for Trump.
Yeah.
Or force him to pay private security. But of course,
like what they did for RFK all these months.
Yeah, exactly. But the Secret Service has capabilities that private security doesn't. Like, I don't think private security can just shoot would-be assassins on live television. I don't think they could do that. So, but yeah,
never say never.
Never say never. Yeah, hey, it happened in Iraq. You know what I mean? With which is another thing too. I mean, people mean like, listen, I don't mean to speak out of line, because a lot of people do like him, but I'm skeptical of the Eric Prince worship, to say the least.
Oh, I mean, same.
Yeah. I mean, he was the leader of Blackwater. I mean, let's not, but that's like, we're too late in the stream to get into that. Maybe next week we'll get into it. But
I think a healthy skepticism of any hero worship is required.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole Bukele thing happened, and then Trump is accusing him of.
Oh, we didn't talk about that.
And I think that's totally just like, it's a yes or no question. Like, did you or did you not? And I think that's well worth asking to investigate, because well, if the prison population did go up, but you didn't get all of them, well, where did the rest of them go?
Well, they had to flee.
Well, yeah, they left, and an open border is a great place to take them.
Yeah. And I don't think Bukele like purposely sent those people. It's just that they fled El Salvador for obvious reasons. I'm not going to chase
him. Yeah.
Because Bukele's going to put him in jail.
Again, a healthy skepticism of a lot of hero worship is good.
Yeah, exactly, including Trump. That's exactly. Not to say we're blackpilling, but it was kind of a faux pas. Not say, yeah. I mean, I know some people in the right don't like Bukele either, but I mean, he is pretty universally liked among the right, even. So, although, but anyways, let's move on. So now we have Charlie Mackey, and by the way, he asked this, Charlie Mackey for $25. Thank you, Charlie Mackey. Good evening, gentlemen. Looking forward to catching this as a VOD. Gio, have you started reading any of Canticle of Leibowitz? Yes, I'm almost in the first chapter. No rush, just curious about your take. God bless, and hope you both are having a good week. Well, I have a lot of reviews too, but I was thinking, since Prude read it, that we would do Digital Archipelago on Canticle for Leibowitz when
It's a great book.
Yeah, when political hot takes are running dry. When I read the book, finally, we'll do that episode for you, Charlie Mackey. I would listen, if you want to give me $100 for a movie review, or Prude $100 for a movie review. I tend to keep that on Generate Reviews as a separate thing. But since we both read the book or reading the book, I think a Digital Archipelago episode with it would be good too. So yeah, thank you, Charlie Mackey, for the $25. I love people that give me and Prude your hard-earned dollars. We really appreciate it, because I know things are tough out there. And anyways, I don't know why I'm going to read this, but he gave me $25. Sorry, I'm going to have to read this. Prude, I'm very sorry. Pac-Man Respecter for US $25. Speaking of e-girls, fellas. Okay, so this is for the chat too. So,
oh no.
Yeah, this is for the chat too.
Oh,
fellas.
No.
I know it starts off with fellas, so you know right away it's going to be bad. Fellas, she's 6'2", a power lifter, but low body fat percent. Long blonde hair, white, thinks I'm handsome and giggles at my jokes. Give me a world and I could conquer it. Give me a kingdom and I could rule it. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, but I feel like celebrating. Well, Pac-Man Respecter, well, what do you guys think? I mean, I say...
Wait. He's like seeing her?
Or this woman's interested in her. He says he's 100% honest. Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, go for it.
Yeah.
You know,
who cares if she's tall? Who cares?
I mean, is she tall?
Implies that she's taller than him.
Ah, okay, but she's into him. Well, I mean, enjoy it.
He's 5'8" and she's 6'2".
Oh wow.
You're a height king, man. You're a height king. Go for it.
Enjoy the short king status, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, go for it.
Yeah, it's based.
She's into
Remember
you. She's
Cowboy?
into you.
Do you remember that Cowboy poster?
No.
He was into tall women. He was a prolific frog, and he would post every day about how he loved tall women.
Interesting.
Cowboy. I wonder if I think he came back really briefly, but then he's gone now. So if you remember Cowboy poster, yeah. I say go for it. What do you guys think? Okay, press 1 in the chat if Pac-Man Respecter should date this woman. Press 2 if it'll be totally humiliating. You shouldn't date this woman. So, I mean, I say press 1, in my opinion.
Go for it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
You know, try and improve your bloodline. You know.
Yeah, you're gonna create monsters. You're gonna create,
whatever helps your bloodline have taller children.
Yeah, and she's, she has good genetics, and if she's into you, yeah, there's universal ones right there. Yeah, universal ones. 0, I want to talk to the operator. That's funny. But yeah, there's all universal ones. So yeah, go for it, Pac-Man Respecter. I mean, yeah, go and find your tall GF that you could lick the tomboy. No, I'm not gonna lick the tomboy. Oh no.
You're better than that.
No, I know. That was crazy though. How AA, like he was like they went after him so hard for the tomboy abs thing. My GF can beat up your GF. That's true.
Yes.
That's true. She's 225 pounds, but that's pure muscle though. That's different. Yeah, that's she's 6'2", pure muscle, 225 pounds. Yeah, go for it. Anyways, I'm happy for Pac-Man Respecter. And so the final, unless there is more on entropy, the final one, and I don't know if this is a typo, by Jay Ford. Jay Ford for 114.69. Sneed. That's all he said. Sneed. 140.69 at the end. Thank you, Jay Ford. Oh my God. Does that mean you wanted me to review something? I think, is that for a review, Jay Ford, or is it just a big super chat? Holy based. A couple of tattoos, but she was in the military school. Pac-Man Respecter, please, we already said yes. Don't ruin it. Don't ruin it.
Just be happy. This is one of the few times I'm going to just say that unironically. Just
don't tell her please don't tell the chat anything more about her, please.
Just be happy, man. You don't need our approval.
Oh boy, but thank you, Jay Ford. That's incredibly generous. and he had to put the 69 at the end. He had to. Yeah, don't overthink it. Exactly, don't overthink it. So have Pac-Man or Spectre just go on a date with her. Start off slow and work your way up. So yeah, Super Sneed by Jay Ford for $114.69. So thank you, Jay Ford. We appreciate your patronage, and hopefully you people next week give big to Prude. Although I don't know, Prude, your episode has more viewership on YouTube though. Your episode, so it offsets the cost. Yeah.
Not if I need to edit them.
Yeah, true.
To make sure they get the green dollar sign, because Lord, they do not.
Oh boy. Oh, you got monetized last week though. I thought that was gonna be like.
I did not get it, which is fine.
Oh man, did you edit it though?
No, but I'll live. I'm making it up by just doing more.
Bro, just take it down, edit it, and put it back up.
That is time I do not have.
You do work a wage job. Yeah, that's true.
I got a lot going on IRL. I was kind of offered a position that I'm not sure I want to take, but there's a lot of opportunity with it.
You'd be like a manager?
No, I kind of, but not really. I mean, I work government stuff, but I mean, I'd be doing a lot more independent, self-starting, growing things on my own for a region. And where in my area, I wouldn't be moving. Although I am moving closer to my office,
your church,
in my church soon, so things will change. But
well, that's good. I mean, it's a lot. That would be like a lot of responsibility you'd have to take on.
Yeah, and I mean the money is better. It's just it's kind of do or die. Like you either succeed or you don't, and that's on you. Whereas here, I have a little more stability. Like I don't see myself getting fired anytime soon. So it's like I got a lot to weigh on, and I was just offered this today. So I'm like, oh, I got a lot on my plate.
Yeah, man.
But also, I've been trying to get more writing done on Substack and less live stuff. I mean, this is the only live show I do nowadays, and I like keeping it that way. I try doing more pre-recorded stuff. Like I interviewed our friend Shane Swenson, which is up on my YouTube channel. You can go watch. It was a fun discussion on iconography and religiosity and politics and irony and other things like that. So but yeah, it's just a lot of stuff's going on.
Yeah, but that's good, man. Hopefully you take it, and hopefully you can balance like your online stuff with having like huge responsibility like that.
Yeah, it's a challenge.
Yeah. Oh, one more entry for $5 by Belial Bradley. Early 2000s John Fonte pill. Well, yes, I'm going to actually be reading the famous essay about transnational progressivism by John Fonte. And this week, the content-minded episode on Tronzy, transnational progressivism, will be dropping. And next week, hopefully, I will have the Volpes interview about the Belgian nationalist system and about other things about European politics. And a few weeks from now, hopefully, I'll have the Solion episode out. Yeah. Anyways, let's go to the YouTube super chats. So they're all basically city immigrants. So city immigrant for $10. Longtime viewer, first time super chatter. Well, thank you, city immigrant. Can Matt and Gio offer their opinion on what it means to be on side in American post-Silicon Valley defection? As an aside, what is our favorite? Who is in our favor now that wasn't?
I guess like technically on the side of. Ooh.
Yeah. Well, I don't exactly trust Elon Musk, to tell you the truth. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I've said it on more than one occasion that I kind of take the trust not in princes and sons of men, for in whom there is no salvation, quite literally. Yeah. And we just talked about the whole hero worship thing, to be skeptical. I guess technically we're on side because, I mean, we're anti-left and we're anti-Buckman, so I guess there's that coalition there. What does it mean to be? I mean, it means that you want some part, or you want your country to not be totally devoured by anti-white leftism that has destroyed American industry, has destroyed the historical American nation, and has propped it up with ethnically ambiguous progressive homogeneity. So I mean, as an aside, what is in our favor now that wasn't? I suppose it would just be the money pouring in, and even then, I guess that's part of it. Like, but again, like I'm with Gio, I'm skeptical. Like in
Yeah.
2016, Mark Andreessen was pro Hillary Clinton because of the immigration question. Like, why are you swapping over to Trump now? I mean, Trump is still marginally and nominally talking about like Operation Wetback 2.0. So I remain skeptical.
Well, that is
eh,
a point in AA's favor, though, that certain elites are picking Trump.
well, yeah, but that doesn't mean
Yeah.
like. But again, the critique is that like it's fixed in for Trump. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
it's not a gimme. Yeah, there are certain factions that are for him. I don't think anyone could deny that. I just don't think that we should be viewing elites or the regime or the wealthy or the bourgeoisie or however you want to frame it as a monolithic entity.
Right. Exactly. And I think that um I think Andreessen. I wonder if King Pill talked about this.
Oh, I'm sure he
Uh,
has.
like the PayPal people and Andreessen, I think they come from an older model of Silicon Valley globalization that is in some ways against the transnational progressive agenda because it affects them for whatever reason. We don't know. We don't know what these, the boardrooms of the kings. We don't really know what they're talking about. But you can read Andreessen's writing to get a sense of it. I think that they come from an older Silicon Valley Californian ideology model that they feel now is the time that they're being threatened by transnational progressivism. Not to say that I fully trust them or fully on their side, of course, because I think that their worldview comes up with a lot of hangups that aren't exactly, let's say, in the same interests as the frogs. But that being said, um, I think like people like I know Tucker Carlson says that this thing is a much more personal for Elon Musk because of his kid. And like me and Prude were both not fathers, maybe one day. But I'll tell you right now, if I had a son and my son was taken away by a very evil and malevolent ideology, and I was tricked into going along with it by my ex, then yeah, I'd be pissed off too. And I think him giving Trump money is basically an FU to the world of transnational progressivism. And whether or not that means I trust him or I trust his government contracts or his transhumanism or his connection to certain other nations, I don't. But is he doing it for more personal reasons than we believe? Maybe. And if it works out, it works out. But always treat these people with a grain of salt because chances are they're elite for a reason. And their interests probably don't align with ours 100%. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's yeah. Me and us at Digital Archipelago, we always maintain this that we're not gonna do the whole side thing. We're not gonna do the whole based whoever that happens to say favorable things about Trump or whatever. You always have to maintain a form of realism. But that's a great question though. I hope sitting and
I like
interviewing.
and like I think we had also said is that it's going to just be really important to
Yeah,
have that skepticism.
yeah, exactly.
Simple
And
as that.
yeah, and Charlie Mackey comes in Entropy for another $10. Both of you do what you want with reviews. This is the way I do my job as a bourgeois, giving patronage to some who deserve it. Well, thank you, Charlie Mackey. We will definitely, and hopefully in a few weeks, come out with the Canonical for Leibowitz review. I quite enjoy the book, but I really like post-apocalyptic literature. I'm not gonna lie, man. I watched every. I know like it was total cool, but like I did watch almost every episode of The Walking Dead. So not the. I mean, I watched Fear the Walking Dead, but I whatever. I did that review, and I quite like ever since I was a kid. I really love post-apocalyptic things. My favorite film when I was a kid was 28 Days Later. So
Mm.
maybe one day I'll do a review of 28 Days Later. I was
Yeah,
recently watching.
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Prude. Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to tell Charlie that like the video game stuff, it'll probably come out as Substacks. I don't know if
Yeah.
they'll come out on video, and I mean if they do, they'll come out on video, not on the main YouTube channel. Because man, anytime I do a Friday night game stream, even though those things get paywalled within 24 hours, because I'm just having a Friday night like chill kind of moment. I'm like, you really shouldn't put these on the main channel. This is a waste of time. And it's just like, man, like calm down. You know, calm down. But oh
Yeah.
well.
But yeah, I was recently rewatching some scenes. My favorite was Sergeant Farrell he really knew, like, they executed him, and he really knew what was going on about containment. And he had this reference about his favorite part of The Simpsons he always got when he was a kid was the one where Mr. Burns says to like it was the Treehouse of Horror where they were doing the King Kong spoof, and it's like they needed Marge to go on the ship, and he goes Smithers said women and semen don't mix.
Yeah.
Because Smithers is anyways. But yeah, so another one from City Immigrant for $10. Gio, what is your advice to fellow sensitive young men in post-America? Well, I'm an old head, so I don't know. In terms of self-definition, self-actualization is in the actual marketplace, asking as a Missourian. Yeah, see, I think the Missouri lore, Seneca, I mean, we do have I wonder if we can see the analytics, and we have a pocket of followers in Missouri. Maybe when I come out with my book, maybe I'll do a lecture in Missouri. That'd be great, eh? I go to a small town in Missouri and do a book lecture. I wonder.
Tell City Immigrant to get in touch with Seneca. I mean, there is the forming of a OGC chapter there. I mean, at least you can find friends.
Yeah, there you go. I would say the only way you could really do things to stand above the herd, and I know this is very old head advice, sort of the ride the tiger thing, is to do it for yourself and to not really worry about any ephemeral trappings like money and women. You have to really find something that you are good at, or find something that you want to build for yourself, and just do it. And it's very hard. And interest comes about through experience. There's no real quick way about it. If you want to be a great artist, you have to do it. If you want to be a bodybuilder, you have to do it. If you want to make money, it's following the same principles of time plus experience plus hard knocks plus really not getting demoralized to the point where you're going to just quit. And eventually women will come about, because if you can be at least a little percent better than the average normie, then you've had it made. You're an aristocrat, because the bar is incredibly low nowadays. And so I think that also, this is something that Solian said, although he's much younger than me and you, Prude, but you have to cultivate a sensitivity. You have to really feel things. And there's never going to be a point where you're just LARPing till it becomes genuine. That transition comes naturally. And a lot of people have lost their ability to be sensitive, to truly feel things on a deep level. And a lot of it comes about through meditating on things that are important, things that are meaningful, and to slowly read into them. And I think that's the only way you can really cultivate sensitivity, because we live in a world that is very much against sensitivity. We live in a world that bombards you with stimulus every single time, every single minute, every single day, that always lunges and never gives you a moment of reprieve or reflection. If you are a man or even a woman that can stand above the herd and truly cultivate moments of reflection on things, and to not care about the sort of hyper modern fabulation of all everyday life, to not get sucked into the slop, then you've already had it made. And that comes with time and experience, and that comes with hard knocks. And there really is no easy route towards sensitivity. So, what would you say, Prude?
I think again, it's going to facilitate you to recognize that even if you don't have something going for you right now, that
Yeah.
you have it takes work, and I mean it takes experience, and one who doesn't know what the game or the marketplace looks like right now. I mean, I imagine Gio and I are a few years older than you. I couldn't tell you what the Zoomer women are into. I mean, do you facilitate on what you look for and what you think are your good traits, and what you can do to know what you're looking for to start with. I mean, and I think what you had said about you can't fake it till you make it, but you can start somewhere and put yourself to it. Because eventually, spite's a good motivator, but you want something more sincere than just I hate the world or I resent it. And
Yeah.
if you have something that allows you to keep going, and also you have a network of people that you can talk to and ask for advice, that's going to be vital. I mean, parasociality has killed a lot of the desire for mentorship and
Yeah.
relationships with other people. But like, if you have a father in your life or a father figure that you can trust and talk to, take advantage of it, and you're
Yeah.
going to want to. And that'll help a lot with how you're taking care of yourself. But you have to
Yeah.
soldier on.
Soldier on,
Like,
exactly what it is. Yeah.
you don't know how long you've got in this world, and it is later than you think. And so, do what you can in order to be the best that you can be, if not for anyone but yourself. And if not yourself, then for your parents or your friends, to be the person that you can carry them up when necessary. Um, and that'll set the example going forward for yourself and those around you, and they'll look to you that way, and people will gravitate towards you.
Yeah, and what I've learned about women too. I wonder if Kate is still in the chat. I know that Des is still in the chat. Um, but I notice like if you're a man and you're in a relationship, which a lot of people that listen to us are in relationships, or married, or there's even women that listen to us, shocker. Um, Women are like an emotive force. I mean, I know that's like pretty obvious, but certain moments, like women can say things to you and they can like have a sort of like an emotional vibe that can really affect you as a man because you're not like you're calculative and you're trying to think of how to like fit it even to fit in your heart, and there's things that can like really dwell that can really dig deep into you. But I think as a man, if you are truly invested in someone in a relationship, you have to sort of like find a way to let that wash over you and to realize that you have to be a solid oak tree that can wither a storm, and you have to find a way to sort of not like totally dwell on it because that will destroy you really if you dwell on certain things that women say at a heat of the moment, or you're in a relationship and you have a fight and they say something brutal, and women will they will no they will say something brutal to you, they will go for the jugular, right? But as a man, you have to sort of like let that wash away from you, and you have to like you know go at it at a better moment and carry on, and almost I wouldn't say be totally stoic about it. Of course, if a woman is emotionally like turning you into a punching bag, that's different. But if there are some things that stick into my mind that my GF has said, but it's like, you have to sort of find a way around that. And unfortunately, like as a man, that's what you got to do. You have to be a force of stability. And if you're not that, then, I hate to say it, but yeah. Um, Zed says, don't take a woman seriously while she's giving birth. Yeah, I've had many older guys say that. Yeah, when a woman is giving birth, do not take them what they say seriously. But you know what? Like, there's shit that I've heard from my uncles and even my old man, that women say when they're giving birth. It's like they still remember, right? But the point being is that as a man, you have to have that emotional stability. And you can only cultivate that if you find in yourself a form of emotional stability before you can branch out to actually having a productive relationship or a marriage. So, yeah, I think that's a good piece of good advice. And let me tell you, man, it takes a while to learn that. It takes a while to learn that. And it takes, yeah, it's gonna take. Me and Prue, we've been there, So, yeah, yeah. But anyway, so another one for $10 by City Immigrant. So Gio, where is it? Here it is. Gio and Prude, thoughts on Gen Alpha. I personally think we need a new name because I refuse to go through the rest of my life calling them alphas. Oh my god.
I
I
don't know if you'll get a new name for them.
I fear for them, to tell you the truth.
I think some tech or some phenomenon will emerge where they're called that, like generation brain rot or whatever. Like, I mean, like Gen Alpha brain rotters, people would talk about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, when Gen Alpha? I guess let's go look that up and see if we can get a
By the way, Kate J
born
gave
between 2010 and 2014 or 2024. So
Whoa.
the ones that are little kids now. So I mean,
Yeah.
like they're truly the post digital, the post social media, the 5G, everything. Like I guess like the generation of things, like the Internet of Things, like the generation of things. I don't know, but I mean they're the ones in this brave new generation tech. I don't know, but
Brave New
still,
World, yeah.
you'll have a name other than Gen Alpha will emerge. I guarantee it. And as they get older, and as they start to self-express and self-identify in whatever ways that may be, a name will emerge for itself. As for my opinion of them, I mean,
We have yet
uh,
to see.
we've yet to see. And I mean, if Gio and I are products of living in the last vestiges of an analog world gone digital, I can't even imagine the kind of identity crises and schizophrenia in the Deleuzian sense will be emerging from them. So I worry.
There was that one viral tweet about the boy who was like a farmer kid, and he's talking to this old boomer about tractors. And there's one tweet, I think he follows me. He says, "Gen Alpha's turning to be exactly what I thought it would be, which is like 80% total bio waste and 20% autistic stallions that will maintain civilization." Yeah, I hope it's more than 20%, but and Kate J said she gives her stamp of approval. Great advice, Gio. Oh, another thing too, Mr. Patchouli said, "Man, I have a friend constantly scares women off by obsessing about whether she's okay. I want to plunge him into old Pua forums, but he's too nice." Yeah, never do that, man. I learned the hard way, okay? Not to get too personal, but when you do that, that is sort of like scaring technique, because you have to create an environment in which women feel safe regardless, instead of always asking them if they feel fine, because that really scares them. That gives them an emotional ick, because it means that you are uncertain about the environment by which you are surrounding this woman with. So don't do that. Whatever you do, like, I mean, occasionally ask women if they're okay, like, but don't like constantly be like, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?" That'll like scare them off. Yeah, that's a good advice, Mr. Patchouli. And then Green Gasfeld, our good friend, for $2, a humble $2 for you, gents. Peter, oh, it's Peter Juvenile, our good friend, follower of the show. And let's see if we have Entropy. Nope. Final $10 by City Immigrant. Final super chat. Shitpost or serious post? Is shitposting still a viable form of political action going forward in the 21st century? Well, I like to think it's Lindy. I like to think it's eternal. I like
There
to
will
think
always
that,
be a need of a satirist.
yeah, exactly. And I think that, especially, I mean, I think especially if Kamala wins, you're going to have to create a newer form of biting satire and political engagement through the posting. You're gonna have to like really. I mean, we always try to live in the shadow of 2016, which is I think can also be a destructive force. But I think that you're gonna have to still kindle the spirit of the old frogs, because if it's going to be girl boss occupied government, um, satire and humor and biting humor is going to be something that's will be needed more than ever. And if Trump wins, it'll always be there too. And really, I think that if I were to give a final message, you shouldn't really hang your hat on like any political savior, unless we do see that things get so bad that a Caesar Augustus will come down the pipeline. And I mean, yeah. So I don't even think Trump is going to be fully a political. I shouldn't counter him, but it's like you have to be pragmatic about these things.
Be pragmatic, and just I would just simply say be pragmatic about it, but also it like Gio said, there's not going to be a big. I don't expect Caesar to come out of the woodwork. I don't expect even in a non discounting his persecutions, not even a Diocletian type, savior of sorts for an empire. I just don't see it happening. So you got to just be mindful of the fact that whatever's going to happen, especially in this day and age, whether it's from what we saw with Douglas Mackey and all the rest, like, yeah, like you've got a lot of stuff going against you.
Literal illegal memes. Yeah.
Yeah, and
To quote Victor, yeah,
yeah,
Thomas
like
Victor.
it's real. So just be careful.
Is Kamala going to be the blue Caesar that Richard Spencer talks about?
That'd be terrifying, now wouldn't it?
Yeah, she doesn't seem like Blue Caesar material, but I don't know. Like I say, I don't want to like totally discount Kamala because I think that she might present to be smarter and more cunning than people think. She might present to be more of a challenge than people are expecting, and she won't be a Blue Caesar. But I definitely think that the possibility of Blue Caesarism hasn't escaped us. And is Kamala going to win? Who knows?
I don't know.
I don't know.
It'll be closer than people think.
Yeah.
It'll
Um,
be 2016, if not 2020 levels of close.
yeah.
There's just
But
no
anyways,
there's just no other alternative
yeah.
right now.
I unfortunately, I mean, look at the British, or even look at here in Canada. I mean, is there really an alternative?
Not
Oh my
really.
god.
Not yet,
Ugh,
at least.
not yet. Yeah, not yet. She's stupid, but stupid people can be dangerous. Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
That's true.
Never underestimate the retards.
Oh, especially if they have immense political machinery behind them.
Oh, yeah.
That's even
And she does.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can tell she doesn't want to be president. She looks absolutely terrified in the press conference yesterday. Um I think that the Democrat Party, I think what they're going to do is they're going to work her over and they're going to say, listen, um, you don't really matter. You kind of matter, but you kind of don't. The machine
Yeah.
matters, and the machine will take care of you.
And again, that'll be a big part of whoever the VP nominee is.
Yeah.
That'll really put things into perspective.
Demotion. Well, like Barack Obama said last week, the right in America is reliant on the charisma of a single man. And so,
Yeah.
in a way,
whereas there is an entire institution behind sort of the left.
Kamala doesn't really have to be like that much of a leader. She has to be enough of a leader to convince people and to edge that 12% of or so of fortifying in her favor. So I think there's going to be a lot of people like Blinken and Pelosi and other apparatchiks within the Democrat Party. Like the old heads are going to tell her, listen, don't worry about it. We're going to take care of everything. Be as presentable as possible because the machine is behind you and you don't really have to matter that much. Because she kind of does look terrified. Yeah. I mean, she does have like a particular like girl boss sort of like, she wants to be a more relatable Hillary Clinton that can speak to the, urban youths. But so I don't think she really needs to have that much confidence. The way that Trump needs to have supreme confidence in himself to wrestle the presidency back. So yeah, that's anyways, let's see if there's any more entropy. Nope. So oh man, this has been a great stream. I didn't know that. I was kind of skeptical of this one.
Well, I'm kind of glad we got the election coverage discussion done within like the first 45 minutes because then it was like, okay, now we have room to do whatever. We don't have to be so rank punditry cynicism, which is always good to avoid.
Yeah.
Because that can be like, unless you're like the map guys, like those guys haven't made because like you can make your maps and then change your opinion on them within the latest poll and like data and edit accordingly. And you can make good money doing that. But like if you're not doing that, oh man, I don't know how you do normie election punditry coverage these days without being just totally dead inside. You know?
Peter Zeihan is totally dead inside.
Yeah, but that money probably makes up for it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. What's this comment by Catenation of Circumstances? She should bring her own brand of gin and vodka, an already oversaturated celebrity gin or vodka market. Well, yeah, that's her tequila. Yeah, that's true.
That'll help her with the black vote.
She's the female Yeltsin. We have maybe. I mean, that's very interesting.
Whatever continues these Soviet comparisons. I don't know what it is, but I enjoy the Soviet. I think it's better than the sort of
Roman
boomer World War II analogy. So like whatever keeps this happening, like all the death of Stalin memes, like whatever keeps that going, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is that Russia with Attitude, they posted the video of Yeltsin's final address.
Yeah.
And like he was like totally. I remember my old man saw that on TV. Like he was totally done in 2000, or it was 1989, but he still like delivered an address to the public. And who knows what's going to happen tomorrow with Biden? If he'll
Yeah.
just say a few words and that's it. But anyways, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. So like, I mean, it does matter, but it doesn't matter to the extent of like obsessing over this is Biden's speech. Kamala Harris gave that speech and she feels like she's right. It's like, no, that type of like what Prue was saying, that type of like electoring punditry is sort of like I don't know, like
So
people like
it's
Maddie
I can't imagine doing it, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm not that kind of guy. I
No.
used to be way more like into it, but I feel like the last vestiges of that kind of electoral politicking for me kind of died in 2020. But I'm happy to be wrong, you know? Like I'm okay with being wrong.
Circumstances have forced their hand though many times in Digital Archipelago.
Oh yeah. I mean, we'll have to we'll inevitably talk about it, I'm sure.
November we're going to definitely do an election stream.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to happen. No, because people demand
well, yeah.
it.
But you know why? Because elections on a Tuesday.
Oh God. Oh.
We'll have to do it.
Oh, we're going to have to compete with so many people.
That's true. But we'll have friends on.
There's going to be like 20 different bars on the Twitter, like on the Twitter thing. There's going to be like 30 different streams going of different people. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to compete with AA. We're gonna have to compete with Night Owls. We're gonna have to compete with like huge
Sargon.
Yeah.
Ah, well.
We're gonna have to compete with.
It'll be a good time.
It'll be a good time. Yeah. Anyways, thank you all. This has been a really generous stream, and hopefully we delivered a lot of fire content and good advice. So yeah, and Jay Ford says I'll be here. So thank you all.
Well, I guess he was serious about the money he gave.
Yeah, there you go. Man, that's crazy. He had to put the 69 at the end. Oh boy. Imagine if all elections were right and only, Charlie Mackey. Oh well, have I got a proposal for you? Maybe one day, if things get really bad. But anyways, we'll see what happens. So, thank you, as we say always. God bless. Goodbye. Too sweet. We'll see you next week on Prude's channel. It'll be great. Mwah.
See you, gents.